Hello and welcome to Too Fast, Too Forever. There's all kinds of family. We chose this one. This is episode 51, The Fast and the Furious Lap 5. I'm Joey Lewandowski.
I'm Joe 2, and this episode's brought to you by The Next Street, the best driving school in Connecticut, locally owned, locally operated. They care about you, and you will feel it each step of the way. thenextstreet.com.
So fitting for this driving school lap, Cara, Gael Regan of the Wistful Thinking podcast will be joining us after the break to talk about this movie that she had never seen before, and she's never seen any of these movies before. And she's going to join us for this entire lap and talk about all of them. There is one thing I want to say. This is a conversation that you and I had with her today very briefly, because I realized as I was editing the conversation, because I am from the future, and we're going to record that next, but I edited it now. And I realized that we didn't ask her what she thought when Brian was revealed to be a cop. I said, did that surprise you? And she said, no, tuna sandwich,
the direct quote.
No crust, cop sandwich.
Exactly.
She's not wrong.
It's the most cop sandwich you could have ordered there, so.
That conversation coming up a little bit later. If you are a patron, I put up that part on Patreon just a little bit ago because I normally put up the intro part, but because we recorded that part first, I edited that part first, and so I put that up, and this is going to be the secret part that goes up on Tuesday to the world. But if you go to patreon.com/toofast2forever or toofast2forever.com, you can support us on Patreon, get episodes early, get merch, get swag, get our undying love, and also vote in the poll, which I'm going to put up, I think, on Monday. So as this is up, is out.
We're going to have the first poll up?
We're going to have a poll about which Paul Walker movie that we are going to watch that you're going to vote on. So very exciting time.
We should put it on Twitter too, not because it'll be influenced by anything, but just see if anybody responds and see if the answers match.
We could do that. Again, Twitter does not count. It doesn't
count.
Sway over there.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
I just want to see if they pick the same movie or not.
So Joe, first up, extracurricular activities. Since you and I recorded our relap recap almost 2 weeks ago, because we did that and we did YAML together, what have you been up to?
Nothing. I've been getting ready for hockey season.
What does that entail? What does getting ready for hockey season entail?
Lots of mental preparation. Like I'm like in the gym in my head, like as if I was practicing.
Oh,
or something.
so not much, but okay, I understand. I appreciate it.
I'm just getting, I like go through the rigors of all the drunkenness that will happen. You know what I mean? Like been drinking lots of water, prepping my body for the next 7 months of just binge drinking. We did our fantasy hockey draft, so we did that. And the other thing is I got this was a long saga, and I've been telling you about it for a while.
Yes.
But I got 2 round-trip flights for Rachel and I to Hawaii for Valentine's Day for 30,000 miles and $22. And it was a super long, convoluted process where I had to transfer miles to the Turkish Airlines miles wallet, email them and call them a bunch of times, and then received emails back in Turkish. I officially have them. They're ticketed. I will be going to Hawaii again in February.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I think that's the big news of things that I've been up to.
Since we last recorded, I was actually up in sort of your neck of the woods. I finally went to the Big E, which is the...
How was it?
It's fine. I'm underwhelmed by it, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm an hour from the boardwalk. It's basically just a big boardwalk.
It's all
so I went up with Jordan Poland Clark, who was she was on our Fast and Furious 6 Lap 2 episode. We got there and we're like, oh, this is cool. There's a lot of stuff here. We walked around. We went and we had tater tots. She was in the mood for tater tots. She had them last year. She loved them. We split those. Then we went to one of the state houses, maybe Vermont, and we got apple cider and an apple donut. We split that.
Oh, the apple cider donuts are like really big in New England.
They're delicious.
So like,
This one was delicious.
If you're not from here, so we do this thing that like right around this time of year, like starting into fall, we do apple cider donuts. And so they just essentially make a donut with a lot of apple cider in them, and they're fucking incredible. They're like pretty common around like the orchards and stuff in the New England area. But yes, I agree. I went and I also ate an apple cider donut because there's one of my favorite things to do there too.
But as we were walking around, we got hungry for dinner. We're like, what food is here that isn't going to make us want to die? Because everything is fried.
None.
Everything's
fried,
fatty, and we're just like we sat down for 15 minutes looking through maps on the website. And we're just like, okay, finally we found this like Mediterranean little kiosk in this one
Oh, that's new
hall,
this year.
and we
Yeah,
went
that
there
was
and we
new this
got
year.
gyros. We both got chicken shawarma gyros, and they were very good. But it was like I was
Yeah,
like, I can't like. There's everything here just is gonna make me want like it's either too sweet or too fat. Like, it's just everything is, whew.
you have to go in with a certain mindset that you know that you're just gonna like carbo load,
Sure,
fry
but I
load.
don't mind that. I just want something that wasn't going to make me like feel ill because I had a 3 hour drive coming home and I had a concert to go to that night.
Yes,
Like I saw
true.
the
Yeah.
reason I went up there was the Carly Rae Jepsen concert, which you were right. She played a little bit of a shorter set. She normally plays like an
Yeah.
hour 25 ish. She played for an
Okay.
hour. As best as I can tell, she played three fewer songs, which is not bad. She cut out
No.
banter, she cut out a costume change, she cut out a few different things here and there, but it was pretty much like the hits nonstop for an hour, and it was great.
I kind of like that sometimes. You know what I mean? The condensed concert versions, you get like the Super Bowl halftime show version of it, where you just get like boom, boom, boom,
Well,
boom,
the
boom, hits,
best
hits,
part
hits.
about it was that the concert was the ticket says 7:30. She's on at 7:30. She's off by
Yep.
8:30. I'm in my
Yep.
car by like 8:50, and I'm home by like 12:15. I was just like,
That's
if it
awesome.
was a normal show and she got off at like 9:30, 10, I wouldn't have gotten home till like 2. This way, it's a much more manageable, reasonable thing. I also met up with Nico and Kevo and Jonah
Cool.
and Kyle from the X's for Podcast, like that whole X's for Podcast
Cool.
HTML world. They were at the concert,
Yeah.
and that was fun. But yeah, I think the Big E is cool. I think I was glad that I got to see what it was, but if it was closer, like if it was an hour, I would probably go maybe once a year. But it's not
Exactly.
special enough, I don't think, to warrant 7 hours in a car.
You're coming from the perspective where you were saying that you have something close that's very
But I feel
similar.
like even like it's not like there's unique stuff. I mean, there's like the circus show that was sold out that we couldn't get to that we were really looking forward to. Like there's
Did
things
you go see all
there,
the
but I feel
animals?
like if you have a cool state fair near you, or you have the boardwalk, or you have like any number of things, it's just kind of that bigger. And I think the scale is impressive,
Yeah.
but there's nothing about it that's just like I can only get this here. It's like, well, I can only get like here's where I can get everything, but it's like there's nothing that really was like, oh, this is worth a drive.
So there's like certain things that like I pick out when I go. Like I have like a certain rundown. There's like definitely stops that we hit all the time. Like the main baked potatoes, they're pretty famous there. Big E has their own cream puffs that they make. Like they bake on site there.
So,
So
so I guess
those are
here's a
pretty
question. So, is there
famous.
things that you do that isn't food?
Yeah, we go see usually like. Did you go through like the whole animal section in the middle?
Yes.
Yes, like we go see like the animal things. It's mostly food and beer driven though. To me, it's more like an eating day more than anything
Yeah,
else.
like that just
It's not
doesn't.
like
That doesn't really. I mean, that's not that it doesn't appeal to me, but it's just that you're walking around and it's hard to really separate sort of the wheat from the chaff. Like a lot of things seem similar, and a lot of it is
it's
probably
true. Yeah.
good, and it's not cheap, but it's not crazy expensive. So it's like you can try a bunch of stuff, especially if you're splitting with people. But it's like
That's the way to do it. You have to go with like a crew. That's what we normally do, and we'll get like one of the things we want to try, and then everybody eats like a quarter of it. Then you go to the next place and you do that too. I specifically go to the Vermont house because they carry all the Cabot cheeses and they have a special Big E only cheese that they release there. And they also had some Jasper Hill Farms cheeses, which are actually pretty hard to find outside of like Vermont, like in stores. So like I got like a nice piece of like Jasper Hill Farms cheddar. I think it's probably one of the best fromageries
hmm.
in the Northeast, if not the country. You have to have specific things that you like hit there. There's a lot of nonsensical shit that are like boardwalk fries. Like there's like one of these or like, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of like recurring stuff. And like you were saying and like I was getting back to that you said you have the boardwalk close to you. So this is where I can see you're like, "Oh, maybe not as impressed with it." Probably like the Jersey Shore would probably be like the closest thing for us around here too to go for like something like that. If you have a state fair, like my dad was just talking, he just went to a state fair that was like up in middle Pennsylvania, and he was very disappointed by it and said like it wasn't very big, there wasn't anything going on there, and I was describing the Big E to him, and he was like, oh, that sounds amazing. So it's definitely perspective. Like if like I'm sure if you went to the Texas State Fair, you'd be like the Big E's small and stupid, right?
Yeah, I've definitely been to like worse and bad state fairs. Like in county fairs. Like this is not. It's not bad. It's just I guess what I
It's a
was
lot of size.
expecting. Yeah, it's the size and the scale of it. Like I'm gonna keep saying is impressive. I really like. I think what actually sets it apart are the five state houses. Like that is a cool.
That's really
That's the
cool.
cool
Yep.
part. It's like the rest of it just like there's
Mm-hmm.
like the carnival part that just like this is like it's like that's like sort of
It's
low
like a
end
shitty
boardwalk.
carnival.
Yeah, it's not there's a
Yeah.
lot that isn't exciting. And I was just sort of hoping that there would be things that are like, "Oh, I get." Like there's people that Jordan was talking to cuz she lives up in Vermont and they go like 3 or 4 times like a week, like for the 2 weeks. It's just like, well, what do
Mm-hmm.
you go? Like, I know that people love this. And, like, I don't think you ever really
There's like
gave the impression like this is the greatest thing in the world. But like I know that you really like it. But I know that people love this. It's just I don't,
Yeah.
I don't,
I don't
I don't
know if
get
I
it.
could do it more than twice a season. And they do run like entertainment things like during the day, so they'll have like, the largest pumpkin
Sure.
contest, all these like bronco rodeo type stuff too. They do all of those kind of things. There's something for everyone there. It wouldn't draw me back to it 5
Right.
days. And it runs for like 17 days. So like you could go there every day for 17 days. They sell like a 17-day pass. And if you were like lived close, you could do it. Usually we definitely do one. We sometimes do two. We'll hit like one day in like the very beginning, one day at the very end of it. And just like hit like double the food things, like the things that we missed or didn't get there. But we also don't stay like a whole day. It's usually like about a 5 to 6 hour chunk is like a good amount of
Yeah, I was
time there.
probably there from like 2 to 7, and then concert, and then out. Like but like we also were wandering around because like after the circus show wasn't open, like we waited online for 40 minutes, and like I think nobody online got in. Like everything, because Jordan had gotten in the past without having to buy a ticket, like it was just sort of standby or whatever.
Ah, okay.
But it was just like
Okay.
this was we like I don't think anybody online got in, but we were sort of hoping like eat for a while, sit down and watch the circus show, eat for a while. She goes, I go to the concert. And then
Mm-hmm.
when the circus show fell through, we're like, well, now what do we do? And so that's when we saw the animals.
Just more
Yeah,
eating.
we saw the parade, and we ate some more food, and we just sat down. Oh,
Yeah.
I also had a Ben and Jerry's maple milkshake, which was delicious. It's like a vanilla
Maple
milkshake with the
creamies, man.
actual maple syrup.
Yep.
But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just we're like, oh, like we were sort
A
of
lot of
hoping, like
food.
because it just felt like, oh, now we have 3 hours to kill, and I don't know what we're gonna do.
Did you go look at hot tubs? They also
Oh,
have
there's
like
hot
a
tubs
whole
everywhere.
hot tub.
Why are there so many?
There's hot
So
tubs.
Jordan and I were talking about that. We're like, why are there so many hot tubs? And the only thing I can think about is that like it's not for people who know they want a hot tub. Because if you know you want a hot tub, you're gonna go find it. My only thing that made it sense is that like, say Jordan and I were like,
Impulse buying.
say that we were like living together, and like we're just like, oh, that would be nice. And then we go look in, and like it's in our brain. But like, how many people is that for there to be like multiple hot tub and spa vendors?
Hundreds of hot tubs. Like a lot. There's
Taking
a
up like
lot of hot
massive
tubs.
space. Like you're walking down, like there's food vendors on either side, and it's like, oh, there's like a lot of excitement here, whatever. And then it's like, oh, there's just like it's weird that there's just like a dead space here. It's like, oh no, it's just hot tubs and no one is looking in them. There's like kids just around like peering in,
Miles.
but there's not people like buying.
And some of them are full, a lot of them aren't. Then you're like, what? Do people go in these? I've seen people like put like almost look like they're gonna go in these, and I'm like, is there somebody that really comes up to the Big E with like a bathing suit and just sits in this hot tub all
Maybe
day?
I don't know, but that was basically all I did. The Carly Rae Jepsen show was
Cool.
great. That was the third time I saw her this year. It was outside, which was very nice. It was not too hot. Oh, also,
That's awesome.
I ordered a second, a nicer, as you know,
Oh,
custom jersey from China because the first one got here and it was bad. So Carly Rae
yeah.
Jepsen, for everybody who knows or doesn't know, is a pop singer who is the girl who sang "Call Me Maybe," but then has put out my two favorite albums of the decade, "Dedicated" and "Emotion," which are just fantastic. But she threw out the first pitch at a Tampa Bay Rays game 5 years ago, and it was horrible. Like she basically spiked it in the dirt right to her left. Like it was just like throw in the dirt, hands over mouth, so embarrassed. But she wore a Rays jersey, Jepsen number 8, and so I ordered from this website that Joe gets from China, gets custom jerseys from China. I got a Carly Rae Jepsen jersey. It was not good. I ordered a second one. It was beautiful. So I wore
Oh, really?
that,
Cool.
and
Good.
I had so many people come up to me, tell me that I was their hero, that they loved me. Like, where did you get that? Is that a real player? Like, they were all just like, I can't believe this is real. And Nico and his friends were like cracking up. They're like, isn't he great? Like, it's the best. And I was like, I'm just so glad that like these are my people that they appreciate. Like a girl came up to me during the concert. She's just like, what basically what is like what? And I was just like, oh, I had it made from China. It shipped it here. She's like, I love you, and then she walked away. It was amazing.
That's
It was
awesome.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was I was very excited to show
$20.
it
Great
off.
twenty
Well, this one I
dollars.
sprung. It was a $30 jersey. It was the
Oh
nicer
God.
one. Yes,
Whoa.
because
Damn.
25 did not pan out, but 30 that was the good one.
It's funny, and for like 55, you wound up with two of them of varying
And they
degrees of
refunded me
quality.
12 for the first one. So I basically paid $42 for two jerseys, one of which I'm probably never going to wear, one of which I might wear like one or two more times. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to ever actively wear a Carly Rae Jepsen Rays jersey because people aren't going to know what it is. But at the show,
Without context.
I'm a
Yeah.
local hero.
That's awesome, dude.
Like I said, we have a Patreon on the show, patreon.com/2fast2 forever. Shout out to Cassie Wilson, Jake Freer, Ben Milliman, Nick Burris, and Alex Ellenin. for supporting us over there. We have a review check-in. So
Engaging
here is
Alex.
the we're an interesting, and this has nothing to do with the podcast. We're in an interesting
Okay.
middle ground right now. Mac OS, whatever the next one is, Catalina maybe, is going to come out.
Okay.
It's not out yet, but I think they've already divorced podcasts from iTunes. So I had to look on my phone because it's no
Oh.
longer on the iTunes app on the computer. We have no new reviews, 15 ratings,
Oh,
all
weird.
5 stars. Alex, the most recent one. So thank you, everybody who's reviewed us on there. If you have not yet, go on iTunes, go on Google Play,
Please.
wherever you listen. Give us 5 stars. Leave us a review. The review can be mean. I don't care. Just give us 5 stars, though. It helps people find us.
Say this sucks. Yeah, whatever.
But the calling card of the opening segment is our mailbag. We have an email address here on the show, family@cageclub.me. Let us open it up. We have 6 emails tonight, Joe, including one
6 is a bunch, dude.
that I have not told you about. That is a proposition for us, but we will get to that in a little bit. So first up,
Somebody's trying to have a threesome? Is that
a
what
little
you're
bit
saying?
in a certain way, yes. It's not what you're going to
Okay,
think,
good.
but yes, in a little way. First up
Okay.
from West Hampton, Lap for Tune Up. What up, fam?
What up, Wes?
Glad you're back to your regularly scheduled releases. I can't wait for You Are My Lifespan after the great build-up from the end of this episode. Spoiler, he will write in another short email about You Are My Lifespan, so we're going to get his thoughts on that shortly.
So good. So good. I hope you guys listened.
I'm very excited for you to dig into the wiki on some characters. I assume you'll be looking at the Fast and Furious Wikia site. Yes, we will. There are some interesting things in there, but I found that some of the details can be difficult to corroborate, and I found some conflicting info before, so with any wiki article, take with a grain of salt, which I think,
Amen.
yes, of course.
We will,
I
obviously.
mean,
yeah.
the movies conflict with each other, too. Like, it's difficult to corroborate the movies with one another, so, like,
Yeah.
keeping that in mind, I think we're okay.
Yeah.
Without further ado, here are my relap recap observations. Joe mentioned the HBO series The Defiant Ones. My mom grew
Yes.
up all her life in Dallas listening to country, oldies, and classic rock, but in the last few years, she started to dip her toes into the world of hip-hop. Ice Cube is her
Wow.
favorite.
Go Mom. Ice Cube. Okay.
Last year she was going on about this show and how we need to watch it. We still haven't, but it's always in the back of my mind the long list of shows we need to watch.
It's fun. It's more passive. It's like I said, it's a docu-series. It's like a weekend show. I think you could probably start it like on a Friday night, and by Sunday, even if you cut other shows in, other kind of stuff that you want to watch in, Friday to Sunday would be like a good chunk.
It's probably
You could
10.
get
It's
it
like
done.
5 2-hour episodes, I think.
I don't even think they're 2-hour episodes. Are they fully 2 hours?
Maybe?
They're
I don't know.
They're like an hour
It's
and
at
a half.
most.
I don't
It's at
remember.
most 10 hours.
At most, yeah, absolutely.
I will
Yeah.
add in 2 other shows, one of which I've seen, one of which I've not seen. Showtime did a 4-part series about Wu-Tang that was interesting. It was in the same sort of vein.
Oh, cool.
It was kind
Yeah.
of, it was mostly, I mean, because Wu-Tang is now at least sort of mostly
Amazon
RZA.
just did a Wu-Tang one. They're doing a drama
Hulu is.
about
Hulu
Wu-Tang.
is.
Hulu, sorry, yeah, sorry.
That apparently is not great. I have not watched this. This is a documentary look back at basically the forming of Wu-Tang, and then sort of the dissolution of Wu-Tang, and then when they kind of came back, and then the whole Martin Shkreli album, what could be
cool.
now. It's interesting. It's like 4 hour and a half episodes, so it's not too long.
Oh, cool.
And there's another one in terms of country music that I have not seen, but my friend said really good things about. But Ken Burns, the documentarian, is doing an entire documentary series about country music. So that's currently airing on PBS. You know, he did the Vietnam War, I think, last year. He's done baseball.
Oh,
He's done the Dust Bowl. He's done
nice.
national parks. So he's our great documentarian. So he's doing one on country music. So if you like music,
That's awesome.
it's out there.
Yeah, good tip.
Wes says Joey recommended the show Lodge 49. I remember seeing lots of ads for it while watching one of the other several AMC shows we're watching. It looked interesting, but I never watched it. Guess I'll add it to the list. Well, Wes, you know, the list keeps growing.
The list goes on and on, man.
Shout out to Alex for shouting me out in his review. It feels like such a weird thing to get mentioned in a review for a show I'm not technically on, but I love it.
We loved it too, man. You're as close as you can get,
Yeah.
brother. You know
And I'm
that.
totally cool with being considered the Leon of the show as long as I don't suffer Leon's fate and just disappear one day without a trace, never to be mentioned again. Well, that's that fate is up in your hands. It's not gonna, like, we're not going to stop talking about it. If you stop writing in,
Even if you stopped writing in, we'd still talk
It's
about
true.
an email that you sent before.
Where's
So.
Wes? Where
Yeah.
Wes at, string? Alex is technically right about oil because the definition of a diphthong is 2 vowel sounds in a single syllable. However, I still stand by anyone who says it's 2 because pronunciation-wise, it really depends on your accent. I say it as 2, but my mom, with her thick Texas accent, says it as 1. And all I can picture is Charlie Kelly from Sunny, as he's an allman from Texas,
Yes.
selling gasoline door to door. By the way, I love the name Dude, What's My Car for the car game. You've needed an
Same.
actual name for that for a long time, and I don't think you're likely to come up with a better one.
Nope, I don't think so either.
Shout out to Alex Ellenin for that, you know, Coming in late, but coming in hot out the gate with some ideas getting
Nailed it.
implemented already. You mentioned in the minute that Dom is talking to someone named Monica and wondered if it's the same girl Edwin's talking to later. I agree that it probably is, because that would be silly to unintentionally give two characters the same name, especially so close to each other in the film. However, I would also say it's even sillier to give the same character multiple names across films, and that's happened to at least 3 characters in the franchise. I wonder if you remember them all. Well, there's Rico and Tego. And there's also
Yes.
the girl that Han is with, right? Didn't she have, in the beginning of 4, doesn't she have a couple different names?
So Han Solo and Han Lu, right? Doesn't he have like a different name in Tokyo Drift?
So that's that, yeah, yes. Although I don't know if he would count
Rico
that
and
because that's,
Tego
that's
and the
still Han. But like Rico and Tego are like, Santos and whatever.
Santos, yeah.
The girl that Han is with in the beginning of 4, I think her name is Cara, but then she's also Mirtha. Like, remember, there's like different names there.
Yeah, because she's in the
Yes.
one prelude.
Los
Yes,
Bandoleros.
and she has a different name. Los Bandoleros. Yeah,
Is
she
there
has a different name.
anybody else that has multiple names? I mean, those could be the 3.
No, like that's not even like I don't know. I can't think so. I can't think of anybody else.
I mean, like, yeah, that narratively that they fucked up because, like, Brian Earl Spillner is obviously, like, a different name, but that's for a reason. Like, that's narratively driven.
It's an alias. I consider that an
And, like,
alias.
Han
not
Lu
a,
and
yeah.
Han Solo, like, that could also be an alias, too. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
True.
But, yeah, Wes, if we missed one, let us know. Wes says another possibility for the Monica thing might come from this little tidbit I learned while watching the commentary, which we will get to on whenever we do a lap about this movie in particular. The girl that Edwin is talking to before the race, Monica, was just some woman he had in his trailer, and Rob Cohen asked if she wanted to be in the movie, I guess to give the scene and Edwin's character more humor. According to IMDb, her real name is Monica Tamayo. There's another character credited as Edwin's babe, maybe the other girl she indicates to, whose real name is Tammy Monica Gagamian. There are Monicas everywhere on set.
There is 2 Monicas. There was 2 Monicas and a Monica, and Dom's talking to Monica, who's maybe the same or not the same Monica. There's at least 4 of them.
Who knows?
Who the fuck knows?
Wes says, I can't wait for Tammy and the T-Rex. I've never seen the original version, just heard it described, but I feel like I need to watch that before you do the R-rated cut. I'm very curious to see how they changed it in post-production. I actually haven't seen very many Paul Walker movies outside of this franchise, so I'm excited to see what else comes up throughout the lap.
Wes is like riding along with us like Mike Manzi, isn't he?
I think Mike, I think he still listens. I'm pretty sure he still listens, but I think when his movie a day streak snapped, I don't know that he's watching along with us anymore, but he's still there in spirit with us in the proverbial cockpit.
But I mean, like he was with us, and I'm sure that when we do like Tammy and the T-Rex or something, I'm sure Mike is gonna watch it.
Probably.
Like just it's a wild guess, because like he's always close.
Sure. That's it for this week. I think you still have a few cars in reserve for Dude, What's My Car, so I won't send another one. But we've been rewatching Breaking Bad to get ready for the new movie, and there are some great cars in that show. Maybe I'll send one in for a later episode. Until next time, stay furious.
Thanks, Wes.
Thank you, Wes.
I need to rewatch it too.
I think where we are, Dude, What's My Car wise, Wes sent in another one that is related that you already guessed. I'm not going to spoil for the listeners, but that you already guessed that was inspired by his wife's biological father. And then Rachel sent one in the next email that I'm going to read. She sent in a car picture that we're going to do next time.
Yep.
I think that's the only other one. So if anybody else wants to send in a car pic, now is the time.
Now's the time.
So in that next email from Rachel, car for Joe 2 to guess. Hi guys, can't wait to hear Joe try to guess this one. Just saw it on Reddit, and it's a super fucking cool car in my opinion. I'll attach the pic with the car name, bonus points if you can guess the year, is that a thing, and also just the pic of the car. Good luck.
God, fuck the year.
And then she says, and here's a hint that you're going to forget about. How do you think they parked this thing? It looks like it's 50 feet long. So just keep that in your mind for the when we play next, probably 2 episodes with Cara. So
little behind the scenes here. Rachel just heard my half of that and was like, "Oh, you're reading my email."
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
All right. Next email, or thank you, Rachel, for chiming in the background there and also emailing in.
Rachel.
Thank you. So here, Joe, here's our proposition. Subject line, family matters, in quotes. Okay?
Okay.
Yo, Joes, first off, just want to say that I love the podcast. I went on a deep dive for Fast and Furious related shows after watching Fate of the Furious again this past weekend and stumbled across
Who is it?
your fine
Who's
program.
It from? You're not telling me yet?
Forgot. Yeah, it's from Nate Milton. It's a new name. New listener, new name.
Definitely. Okay.
I wanted to cordially invite y'all onto the Rocky Maivia Picture Show to discuss Fast 5. Podcast is a Dwayne Johnson-themed movie review show that airs monthly on the post Wrestling Network. The Fast 5 episode won't air till January, so if you're interested, we have plenty of time the last 3 months of the year to synchronize our schedules, keep up the good work, and justice for Han. So on Twitter, he is at Nate, N8 Mosaic. So I'm going to let's respond to him live on air. I think I would be. I mean, I would be happy to. I think
I'm happy doing it, dude. If you're a fan, I'm a fan. That's awesome. And yeah, we could take a little detour and head over there. Hop in his garage.
so. What I'm going to say to
Do a
him
little
is, I'm
rebuild.
going to say we are going to our Fast Five episode. This lap comes out mid-November. So I'm going to say
Yes.
around that time when it's fresh in our brains,
Fair.
let's
Oh,
hop
that's
on
a
there
great
too.
idea. I really like that.
All
Yeah.
right. So hey, Nate.
Not a threesome, but this works.
Cool. Well, Nate, thank you for
Sent.
listening. Send. Keep in mind that is, we're putting the word out there that the Rocky Maivia Picture Show, great name, is going to cover Fast. I guess all of his movies. We are going to be on the Fast 5 episode.
If we line it up well, but eventually,
No, I like my
even
veggies
if
first.
no, I like my veggies first. Yeah.
3 more emails, Joe. First up from Wells Lamont, subject line meal ticket. What? I can't pay for my own shrimp emoji?
Oh God, I love that. Like between him and Wes with the fucking subject lines.
All right. After Suki tells Tej to get the right set of equipment if he wants to get a red eye to Boston on Suki Airlines, she crashes her car in the opening race. Then, she immediately accepts Tej's next sexual and inappropriate advance at her only because she crashed her car and needs it fixed. It's interesting because
True.
they end up with what they both want, even though it may seem immoral to some.
Prostitution is the oldest business in the world, right? It's an exchange, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
So if she got what she wanted, he got what he wanted, and it was all consensual. Let them do what they want.
I heard a rumor that there will be some never-before-seen footage of P walks on a bonus DVD during the completion of 10. I assume it's just B-roll stuff and
Ooh.
broken scenes, but nevertheless, it would be cool to see his face again.
I agree, and obviously we will cover it
Sure.
if it exists. So
Last thing here, I just found out as I was looking for the line, and it all makes sense now. In the first one, when they're at Race Wars, Letty is about to race this dude. I actually forget what he said to her, but she turns to him and says, "You want a piece of ass? Hit Hollywood Boulevard. You want an adrenaline rush? That'll be too large." I always thought she meant too
Yeah.
large, Too large, and it never made sense. I'd always ask people
ah,
why she said it like that, but no one cared to even think about it. I always thought it was just weird writing, but now I realize she's talking about $2,000. I feel better now.
yes,
Okay, bros, until next time, peace out. Just say 2 stacks, right? Like that's we learned that. That's we had that conversation last episode.
we
You
did.
want
yeah.
adrenaline, 2 stacks.
I always heard it as too large and thought she meant $2,000 because immediately afterwards she like kind of holds the money roll up and like
Yeah.
kind of like shakes it. I used the context even in my young age to realize that she meant too large, like the racing. money.
Wells, I love you. I don't think that there was really a big mystery here. I think this is always pretty straightforward, but I'm glad that you can sleep easier at night now knowing what that line means.
Wells also, I am so disappointed that the Steelers couldn't pull that out because I was going to talk so much mad shit to you if they could have, and it was so close. I wish it could have happened, but I'm just going to eat this humble sandwich, keep my mouth shut on the game. So,
You guys had
easy,
a
brother.
pretty civil discourse on Twitter following the game.
Yeah, I know. Zach was here too, and Zach's a Niners fan. You know that he was here watching the game with me. Both of our teams look like shit, so it wasn't like a great game. Like nobody can really talk shit on when both of your teams look like they suck. So, yeah.
Next email also from Wells, subject line, "And like the snows of yesteryear gone from this earth." What movie?
What
It's a
movie?
quote. "And
I
like
don't
the
know.
snows of yesteryear gone from this earth."
Do you know it?
No, but he has the answer on the bottom. I don't know it, I don't think. We'll find out.
Okay.
Rasputin is a CD store that also sells many used DVDs from 99 cents up to $10, as well as new DVDs.
Okay.
It's awesome. I'm lucky to not only have one of these stores, but 3 near me, and a bunch in California. Amazing deals, and my DVD collection has grown to a little over 600 because of it.
Nice. What are you sitting at, by the way?
Me? Close to 2,000.
Yeah. Yeah. Joey has a huge DVD collection. It's like all in his dining room. So not in a weird way. It's like it's a really nice place for it. It's very nicely categorized, organized. It's
So
beautiful.
I'm close to, I'm at like 1750-ish, and that's including like TV
Okay.
seasons and stuff like that, I think, according to my little logger app, whatever. I only buy used DVDs, and I find gems upon gems at Rasputin. The best part is there's one 10 minutes, 25 minutes, and 45 minutes away. So I get a wide variety of pickings and choosings. I don't take it for granted because this is the type of place that, even though it's been around forever, could vanish in an instant.
Yeah, this is like Amazon's prime target to like just kill off, right? Like this is so you're blessed to have this
Yeah.
around.
I've been sick since Monday, so I haven't left the house, and I usually save episodes for when I'm in the car because I get 100% focused due to no phone in my hand. Well, thank you so much. That
That's
of the thing
awesome,
you want
dude.
the most
Thank
focus
you.
on is us. That is a level of love and respect that I did not know that we had earned, but I
Got from
appreciate it.
anyone else on the planet, and doesn't give me that kind of
Because of
respect.
this illness, I didn't get a chance to listen to this episode until after I sent in the first email. I'm doubling up on you this week. Also, now that y'all are going hard in the paint 4 times a week, not quite, but I appreciate it, it makes it a tad bit harder to write in every episode. It's still my goal, though. Nothing has changed, and I love your activity.
No rush, man. No worries. We get it. It's okay. But we appreciate the emails always, and you always crack me up. So thank you.
I also want to say, Joe, you and I were talking today about how now that we are weekly, I think the episodes are going to be a bit shorter because the intro is going to be a little bit shorter. So, like, don't
Yes.
feel the need. I mean, we would love to hear from everybody every episode, but don't feel the need to, like, listen as fast as possible. Like, I want you to listen to it on your own time, in the way that makes the most sense to you, whatever. If you can't write in every week, that's totally fine. One email to cover 2 episodes, 3 episodes, 4 episodes. Just knowing that you're
Doesn't matter to
listening,
us,
knowing that you
man.
care, and that you care enough to write in, that makes me happy.
Same. I absolutely agree, 100% with you. So
Oh, here is a conversation of what you're saying before. Joe, y'all didn't have your starting QB in, and we still barely beat you. It was a crappy game until both teams started to score a little bit. Niners edged it out, but I
amen.
was there last season with no Jimmy G, and I feel your pain. Glad we got through our
Agreed,
first
brother.
battle. Many more to come. Just like this 5-star podcast, it's forever. We will see each other on the gridiron again.
Amen, brother. I'm excited. Yeah. I hope that one day we have a Niners Steelers Super Bowl, and me, you, and Zach will be lined up there. We'll both be cussing each other out, drinking beers, and it'll be
Yeah.
awesome.
Joey, congrats on kicking the Raiders' butts this week. I highly enjoyed it. Well, now we have since seen the Vikings absolutely shit the bed against the Bears with their backup quarterback in. I'm done with the Vikings. But I thought y'all were slipping at the beginning, but you smashed those dillies, and I'm thankful for it. The Raiders losing is a close second to my Niners winning as far as Sunday joy.
I can feel that. Yeah, I know. I know.
Inglorious
Dangerous man.
Bastards is the movie, just in case y'all didn't figure it out. Love that line.
Fuck. Did he like know that Rachel and I just watched it? No, he doesn't. He doesn't see like Facebook. Like Rachel and I just made Rachel watch this movie, and we've been like laughing about the like buongiorno for like the past like 3 weeks now since we've seen it.
Mm.
Grazie. Yeah,
Of
remember
course,
when
when Brad Pitt is
Pitt
speaking
pretends?
Italian.
Yeah,
When he is the
exactly.
most learned speaker of Italian in the room.
Rachel always says that like when we were in Italy, like this is very much my second language skills. Like I would be like, "Oh, thanks," and she's like, "You don't even try."
What you saying?
She said I would sit down at dinner and I'd be like, "Hey, what's up?" The waiter would be like, "What the fuck are you saying?" Because you're just speaking English to me like I understand it. And I say, it's like a body language cue that's and verbal cue that like I am not gonna understand anything you say in Italian. So let's like just get that off the bat, and I'm gonna be friendly about it, but I'm not gonna understand you.
Sure.
She disagrees, so it's
Well,
okay.
it's okay. Agree to disagree. Last email from Wes Hampton. Subject line: You are my lifespan. What up, fam?
Oh,
I just wanted to write a quick email regarding this lapse. You are my lifespan. I'm no stranger to adult subject matters. My dad wrote a porno. It's one of my favorite podcasts, and I have no problem talking to anyone and everyone about it. In fact, I introduced my mom to it, and we're
yeah.
all going to the live show together next year. Listen, Ice
Oh,
Cube,
that's
in the
cool.
car on the way. That being said, the previous chapter of You Are My Lifespan made me deeply uncomfortable, so thanks for that. Joe, keep up the good voice work. Rachel, excellent acting in the role of Leon. I can't wait, but I'm also terrified to think about what's coming up in future chapters.
If
Wes.
this was just three, it has to get worse, right?
Can't.
Like
I mean, yes. I guess in theory it could be the smuttiest it gets, but like it's so early. It's so early.
it's way too early. Like there has to, yeah, it has to get at least this smutty again. I'm glad you listened to it. Though. It was a lot of fun. This was like it just came at us fast though. It just came
Came
real
fast
fast.
and furious. Well, that's all the emails today. If you
It
want to send
did.
in an email, family@cageclub.me. If you listen and you have not sent in your rankings of the movies with or without Hobbs and Shaw, do that. If you've got thoughts on any of the many food-related arguments or battles that we've had on the podcast, write that in. Or if you just want to say hi, email family@cageclub.me. Joe, on the streets, there's one big piece of news that I would like to take credit for that I knew was going to happen The Rock, it
Okay.
seems, is returning to the main Fast and Furious franchise. It seems like he has made
You called it,
amends
brother.
of
Yep.
sorts with Vin Diesel via Instagram. He says,
Kind of.
"Toretto,
Yeah.
I'll see you again." Or I don't know if it was exactly those words because I feel like that. I don't know if you can necessarily say "see you again" in the context of Fast and Furious without breaking into tears. But
Yeah.
he's coming back
Yeah.
at some point.
Like we said, and like when we talked about it, I think that you're right, but I also think that they're gonna do like it's gonna be very minimal the scenes that they're in together, but hopefully they have mended their relationship and that they're in multiple scenes together and the storyline continues and that they're good and it's just a fun, happy family
Yeah.
again. That's what I hope for.
I don't think there's any other real news for this franchise. Like we're sort of in a lull. Like I feel like shooting may have wrapped possibly for the one that's coming out in May for 9, and so now it might be in post production because I feel like there was a while where I was getting pictures from the set or pictures from the scene or whatever, and I feel like that's not happening as much anymore. So it might have
Yeah.
wrapped. I think we're just sort of in a quiet lull period sort of for news, but boots on the ground, eyes on the headlines, and we will let you know if anything else comes up.
Yeah. Amen.
We are now going to do the segment called Rock the Vote. I searched Dwayne Johnson
Ooh.
president on Google News. Nothing has come up in terms of that. I'm also now going to search The Rock president on Google News. And does not look like there is any new news about that. So it looks like, for now, Dwayne Johnson
He's not
not
a candidate.
running in 2020.
At least in
For
2020.
now, so far.
For now. I think the funding window is kind of closed, by the way. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not running
Well, he
by
could be an
now,
independent candidate, couldn't he?
you would have started campaigning
Well,
already.
sure,
Like,
absolutely.
the,
But I mean, you could also, he probably self-fund campaign of some sort. And I feel like his platform is bigger than most people.
I would be willing to bet that The Rock might have more money than Trump.
One day, eventually, I'm so waiting for the day where like we're not going to be the ones to break the scoop, but we have been here. We have been checking the ballot box, the proverbial ballot box, the list, the voting ticket, every week, here and now, in
Yes.
and out. What a burger!
In and out.
No news yet. Joe, we have one more thing to do before we take a break and welcome in Cara. We have to talk about the Fast and Furious Minute, a minute I called Streets Closed, Pizza Boy.
That's the fucking most appropriate name you could have given this. Any other name would have been wrong.
Yes.
So, you nailed it. I agree.
What the hell's going on around here? Streets closed, pizza boy.
So this is kind of a filler minute.
It's kind of a montage.
It is kind of a montage. This is a gearing up sort of for the race. We're going to have. So you and I were talking today on Facebook as we were working and prepping for this of sorts, and
Yeah.
because we just watched this to talk about it with Cara, like I remember very vividly that there is a lot here. Like there's we're you were saying that you like I was like I think we're probably gonna get to the race in like a minute or two. You were saying it's gonna be at least 2. It's probably gonna be closer to like 4 or 5 or 6. Like there's a lot here
So
before the race
so
starts.
we started the minute, but we hadn't watched the film since, right? So we've been doing a lot of these minutes with a lot of
We
episodes.
might have done. I
but
think we
haven't
did
actu-
the first minute. I think we might have started this in lap 4. So I think we might have watched the
did.
first one with the first one, but we haven't like. This is definitely the first time like since we've been into the minute.
Do we watch the full
Yes.
movie? Yes, agreed. And I'm like, wow. We kept saying we think that we're gonna get to like the race and then get back to the fort. And I was wildly wrong because there's like a bunch of scenes in between. We're like 10 minutes, 15 minutes from the fort, at least.
Yeah, because we're like 5 or 6 minutes from the race. Then there's going to be the
Yeah.
race, which is probably about 5 minutes. Then there is the post-race getaway, which is probably 2 or 3. Then there's the Johnny Tran scene, which is like probably 4. And then there's the fort. So like we're 20. I would say at least 20. Yeah.
You know, because like in my head, I put kind of like markers of like what happens when. So I'm like, okay, you know, he goes and sees Dom at the thing, then they race, then they escape, then they go home. I forgot the Johnny Tran scene. It's there, but it's it's to move the story, but like I don't put it in this order. So like in my timeline in my head, I was like, holy shit, there's a lot before we get there.
Yes, agreed. So in this minute, there's not a lot that happens. That you said that is sort of like a montage. Everybody sort of heads to the start of the race. The only real noteworthy or notable moment, I think, is that Rob Cohen, the director, shows up. Oh, actually, that was another thing that was in the news. Remember months ago, Nico shared with us that post that he found about Rob Cohen's trans daughter coming out as like abusive,
Yes, I
sexually
remember.
abusive, and like that was back in like
Mm-hmm.
March, April, May, like back then. Like it's finally
It
now.
was it was a while
It's
ago.
finally now being like reported on. So like we
Really?
were way way early on that. But yeah, like I don't know if it's just like a second cycle of it, but like the last week or two in my news, I've seen a lot of like accused of this, accused of that, blah blah blah. And it's I guess not that we didn't think it was real, but now it's like it's more out there. You know what I mean? Like it's like people are now
Yeah.
talking about it either again or more.
The first news that we got was like a first-hand
Yes.
report from her Facebook.
Yes.
Remember,
Yep.
like that was like the first. So this is kind of like
The
the yeah,
report. Yeah, I don't know.
exactly.
But yeah, so he's again not that we want to talk about that or him or whatever. It's just sort of a
But he's
fact that
there.
it's just a part of the business that we are in of watching this movie, twice a year. The only notable moment is that he is here as Pizza Boy, the titular Pizza Boy in Streets Closed Pizza Boy. And also, I was saying to you, I think it's really funny that like there's basically a four-line exchange where he and Leon are talking back and forth about like what's going on here. Streets closed, find another way. And then he curses him out or whatever. And like we don't even get all of that. We just get two lines here. Like it's
Because there's so
it's
much
so much, it's at the
montage.
tail
Yeah.
end of that. Like yeah, it's whew. The only other thing I want to make mention of is that the music continues from last minute. Speed of Light, Dominic's Story Part 2 by BT. So that is the same song that we heard last minute. But Joe, this was more of a you minute than a me minute. So why don't you hit us with some of your favorite car details and sign details? Because this is basically a
Yes,
feast for the
it's
car
all cars and
senses.
signs. Obviously I filled in the as much of the car stuff as I could. Those links are on the thing. I'm not going to bore you with that.
Oh, also, just real quick, if you are listening and if you do not know, the Fast and Furious Minute document is available to our patrons over at patreon.com/toofast2forever. So if you want to see a needless amount of details about about this movie, toofast2forever.com.
Yes. Cool things that like the cool things I want to talk about. Get out of the place. We see four cars pull up, and as I'm trying to keep track of the cars, I notice that there's a white van behind a fence over there. And that doesn't seem like a prop car. It was just like in this person's like kind of garage area. You know what I mean? Like parking spot in your building. So that was the first thing I noticed. Second cool thing is later we see another bunch of cars pull up. 1996 Honda Accord, and on the front of it it says www.teaminfrared.com. I went there, dead website.
Damn.
Nobody. Yeah, I know. I was hoping that it was something cool. Last thing, and this is going to be a two-parter.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember this or not, but hopefully you do. We made a promise to the peoples that when we find phone numbers
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
in Fast and Furious, we're going to call them.
Yep.
In the cars, we have the Pizza Hut numbers on the hood, like on the what do you call this? Like the
Oh, like
when a car,
the light up thing on top?
yeah. What is there has to be a name for that,
Yeah.
right?
What do you
I forget.
call just a car top magnetic sign, pizza delivery sign, car topper, magnetic car sign?
Car
Yeah,
topper.
just a car topper.
That
Yeah.
sounds right. So we have the phone number for that. Then we get two really cool buildings in this scene that I want to talk about. There's one building called the ETS building. It looks like it's hard to read, even stopped, high def, whatever. It looks like it says Edmunds Transport Service. I can't. And then there's another sign on the side of the building that has a phone number. Definitely can't make that out. The other building, one car comes through an alley and one car is on the street. And that building you can actually read what it is, and it says UAS Tires and Wheels. And then it says polished rims underneath it on the front. That company still exists, and it's in California. And so I went and I found it on Google Maps. They've repainted it, re-signed it, but it's definitely still the same place because I looked, and on the curb there's like a kind of like a street marker on the curb that like tells you like what block you're in, and it says 12027 in the movie, and when I went on Google Maps it's also 12027, so names match, curbs match, everything matches. So I thought that was really cool, and if you have the document you can go to Google Maps, and I positioned it so that you see it in the same kind of angle that you would see it in the movie, and you can kind of match those there. I think that's pretty cool.
All right, so I'm going to call now Pizza Hut. So I Googled this phone number to see if it came up, and I think that it looks like the area code might have changed. Like the exchange and the final is right, but I'm going to call this and see what happens. Hold on. I'm sorry, what? Who is this? I'm sorry, I have the wrong phone number. I don't know what that.
What
I
did he
don't know.
say?
I don't know.
Give you this now?
It sounded like a restaurant of some kind, but I couldn't. I don't know what it was. It's somewhere in Culver City. I don't know. Man, I was hoping
It didn't sound like maybe Pizza Hut South. That one's
that was
hard.
hard. Okay, let me call UAS because I was just going to ask how if he answered as
If the street's closed.
Streets Closed Pizza Boy, but I was also going to say when I call a place that I'm not sure if it's open or not, like I call them and I never know what to say. Like I don't want to just hang up. I'd be like, oh hey, how late are you open tonight? So I was going to say that, and then I was going to say, do
Exactly.
you know that your phone number is featured in the Fast and Furious movie, and then Streets Closed Pizza Boy, and see how it goes from there. But let me
Cool.
call
That
this.
works.
Do you think that one of these phone numbers is the fax number, and one of these is the phone number? Phone number?
I think so. Mini spoiler on the front of the building, the phone number's on there.
All right, let me see.
But I do want to know if they know that their phone number's in the
I'll
movie.
find out.
Yes,
Hey, how's it going? How late are you guys open tonight?
to 6 o'clock.
I just wanted. I had a question for you. This is sort of like a weird question. Do you know that your company's phone number is featured in the first Fast and Furious movie?
Uh-huh.
It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, the first one, yeah.
Yeah, you guys have. That's like a 20-year-old thing. Like you guys have been around for a while, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Were you around? Were you working there at the time when the movie was shot?
Yeah, I was over here when they make the movie, yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. Like, were you? Is this a weird question? Were you in the movie?
No, sir, I was just watching it. They waited for him the movie, that's fine.
All right, very cool. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Hi.
All right, bye.
Damn! Holy
Yeah, that's
shit!
cool.
That was really fucking cool. Great interview.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's just why not? This is the kind of hard hitting journalism you're going to get here on Too Fast, Too Forever, and that is for sure. If I remember going in the write up for the episode, like a never before first here on Too Fast, Too Forever.
A very special guest caller, a very special guest interview.
Oh man, cool.
From someone
cool,
that was
cool.
there. He was just like so chill about it too. He was like, "Yeah, man, like I was here when they shot the movie. like what the fuck do you mean?"
Yeah, and I don't think it's crazy because we've heard and we sort of pictured that like a lot of people back then would have just been around, right? And like just if you had a tuner.
He sounds
show
like
up-
Hector. It could have easily, yeah. You were very well to ask if he had been in the
Yeah,
movie.
I thought so.
He's like, nah, but like I saw, and then he was like, the first one, like
Yeah, like it's just basically it's just like I just watched it like you do. It's like oh yeah okay cool.
yeah, that was awesome. Wow, shout out to him. Shout out to UAS Tires.
Number
and
3,
Wheels.
baby.
Yeah, you can find them online and hopefully if you're in California and you need tires and wheels, check out UAS.
I wonder how many times they get. It can't be off. I mean, I'm sure it's not the first time, but it can't
he,
be.
he didn't
often.
seem he didn't seem perturbed enough for it to be like
No, but
common.
he also didn't. It wasn't like oh I didn't know that. Like he knew. It's just like oh like I've heard.
But he
this
said he was
before.
there during it.
Man, oh man.
So-
Well, that was exciting. Next minute, we're gonna have some more prep. We're gonna have the farewell of Rob Cohen from the movie, and then we are also
Yeah.
going to have the maybe we're gonna get Monica next minute. I don't know. Monica number 1, Monica number
Who
2.
knows? Real Monica, fake Monica. We don't
We
even
do not know. But let us take a quick break, Joe. Let's bring in Cara, Gael, Regan of the Wistful Thinking podcast and talk all about the Fast and the Furious from 2001.
Welcome back to Too Fast, Too Forever. It's episode number 51, the beginning of the driving school lap. This episode is brought to you by The Next Street. It's family owned and operated. The Next Street is owned and run by the DeFore family, a synonymous name with transportation safety in Connecticut. Beyond the Next Street, their all-star transportation business is Connecticut's leader in school bus transportation, transporting over 35,000 students each day through Litchfield, New Haven, and Upper Fairfield counties. Thank you, The Next Street, which is the premier driving school in Connecticut.
Yes, for our global podcast, I'm glad we went close to your roots, tapped in close to home. Found if you I googled Next Street. The first one is building a better future for small business. I was like, is this where we're going?
It's the
no, not that
nextstreet.com.
sponsor. Then it's manual stick shift driving lessons, best CT learners
Exactly.
permit test study guide, and the best driving schools in CT (Connecticut). As you know, as we mentioned at the top of the show, this is the kickoff to the driving school lap. With us this entire lap, someone who had never seen any of these movies before. She has now seen the first one of 9. We're 11% of the way through. Welcome to the program, Cara, Gael, Regan. Hello, Cara.
Hello. I'm so excited.
Welcome back from our little interview that we
Yep.
did with you a couple of weeks ago that we released that people liked.
I think everybody's pumped.
We are so thrilled that you're here.
Yeah? People liked it?
They did. They were really confused about the order we're going to show them to you in. They were excited to hear from you. They're really stoked to hear someone that's never seen any of them before. So, yeah, you already got some fans.
Oh,
Yes.
how exciting. I'm also confused about the order because I remember that we talked about watching them in maybe a different order, but I don't
Yes.
remember any of the details of
It's
that.
so easy.
Well, that is
it's
fine.
so easy.
We're
We'll
going
keep
to
you.
tell
Yeah.
you episode by episode. You're also going to have a little bit of a bonus homework. For the next episode, you're not only going to have to watch Too Fast, Too Furious, you're also going to watch a 6-minute sort of turbocharged prelude, an interlude that gets Brian from where he is in this movie to where he's going to wind up in the
It's
next
like a
movie.
really
who the
long-
fuck
So I
is
don't want you to know-
Brian?
It's a really long montage with no dialogue.
Okay, I love a montage.
It's on YouTube. It's exactly what you. It's exactly like Joe's description is exactly what it is. It's just it's not worth watching, but you must
okay.
watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. But who is Brian?
Oh, he's the main character. He's Paul Walker.
Oh, okay.
He is Tammy
very
of Tammy
bad
the
with
T-Rex.
names.
It's okay.
So,
He's the titular
I'm
T-Rex.
also very bad with names. That's why we have Ronda Rousey and fake Ronda Rousey. So it's okay.
Yep. Even though I'm trying to get that to be Gina Carano and fake Gina Carano, but we'll get there when we get there. Cara, before we dive into the world of the Fast and the Furious, your first walk down the family saga, your first driving school lesson. We've got some either or questions.
Ooh.
I have
Okay.
I have
And
one.
we're gonna have questions
I have
for
one
you.
to jump it.
Well, we have a series of questions that we're going to ask over basically the course of all 9 movies because they're all about things that you're going to learn as you go on. Joe, are you going to ask the one that you just thought of?
Yeah, it's not an either or question though. But I had a question that fits in with the sponsor.
Oh, I thought because you also just came up with an either or question that we're going to add, so I thought you were going to jump on that. We'll get to that later.
no.
But what's the question you wanted to ask?
I wanted to ask. I know she said that she's like not a huge car person, but because the nextstreet.com sponsored this episode, I wanted to know: has she ever driven a manual stick car?
no.
Have you ever
I have not.
tried?
I have not, although one of my very good friends always drove stick, and I have some questions about loud cars. We'll get to it.
Okay.
He also had a loud car. But anyway, he had this like habit of falling asleep while driving, which was
bad.
always terrifying.
Was he narcoleptic or something? Like what the hell is going
Maybe,
on?
I don't know. So I would have to like clap and sing to keep him awake because I couldn't drive stick. So if he fell asleep behind the wheel of his car, I wouldn't be able to like get home.
Terrible. Scary.
Yeah. Yeah, actually that was kind of scary.
So you could when the pressure was on, when the crunch was on, when the time was needed, when you're barreling down the highway and he says, "Take the wheel. I'm about to save Vince's life." You could jump in there and start doing it then.
I mean, I don't think so. I wouldn't even know.
Where
I
to
know that
start?
there's a clutch and I know you have to move the little thing. I don't know. I believe that you have to do them in tandem with each other at the same time. That's okay. I can
all
do a
good.
foot hand thing. I played piano, but
I do want to say you are more knowledgeable than I am about that. So,
right.
as unsure as you may sound, you are still leaps and bounds above me. So,
But I was just like I wouldn't know what to do. So instead of taking the wheel, I would probably be clapping and singing the Beach Boys very loudly.
Totally fine. That's the
wake
kind of
up,
passenger
wake
that I
up,
want.
wake up.
Yeah.
All right, Cara, some either or questions for you. Number 1. Are you more of a Brian or a Dom? Based on this first movie, we can go through these at the end too, in case your opinions change. Are you more of a Paul Walker or a Vin Diesel? There are characters in these movies.
So that's hard because I feel like I don't have a sense of their character traits enough yet.
That's fair. That's a good
Okay,
answer.
we can
Yeah, that's
pass
okay.
if you want to pass.
You
We
know,
can pass.
I mean, but at the same time, like I'm not a fucking cop, so probably a Dom.
All I gotta say is hashtag Vince was right. That's my new hashtag
Vince
for
was
this movie.
so
Vince
right
was right.
the whole time.
Who's Vince?
Vince is the guy who hates Brian. He's the
Oh,
one
okay.
who
Loves Mia.
Loves Mia.
Yeah.
Mia spurns him, scorns him, and he's the one who says, "Dom, he's a cop." And Dom's like, "No, I don't know, man."
He's like,
but yeah,
he's like, dude, why did you bring him here? You don't even know him.
Oh, you know what else? Also, another tick in the Dom column is the very first note I wrote down while watching this. After the question, Is this the reason so many dudes I went to high school with had loud cars? Question mark. The very first note that I took was no crust tuna fish sandwich. What a little bitch. So I feel very strongly about the structural integrity of sandwiches, and when you cut off the crust, it's just
Mush, yeah.
So you're less of a Dom because you're a Dom, but you're more of a Dom because
not
you're
a
not a
Brian.
Brian.
Yeah. I'm
All right.
really defining myself by what I am not.
It's okay.
Hey, whatever works for you works for us. Question number 2: Are you? And I think this is going to be maybe a tougher question. Are you more of a Mia, a Jordana Brewster, or are you more of a Letty, Michelle Rodriguez?
Oh, definitely a Letty.
Okay.
We don't get a lot of confident Lettys. Like, everybody's usually like, oh man, like, I want to be Letty, but I'm not. And you were just like, you are Letty. So I like
Yeah,
that.
I'm a Letty who wants to kiss a Mia. Maybe
Oh.
that's the real answer to that
I
question.
think Letty wants to kiss Mia.
I think they both want to kiss each other.
Probably.
They might. But there's often a lot of Dom and Letty combos or a lot of Brian and Mia
True.
combos, and this continued here for
Yeah.
sure. Do you have a preference between American Muscle, basically the kind of cars that Dom drives, or imports or tuners, the kind of cars that Brian drives? And they're going to evolve as the series goes on, but are you more a fan of American Muscle or Japanese or whatever imports?
I mean, it's hard to say because I do really love those big old American cars, although
They're beautiful.
maybe not those that would be considered a muscle car. But on the other hand, I drove the same Toyota Corolla for 10 years and it never failed me.
Oh, yeah, those are good cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I have a Prius and I've had that for 5 years. Also great.
Yep.
So hard to say.
Well, you're not going to be locked into it until we get to Hobbs and Shaw, in which case,
By then
you're going to be locked in. But if you had to
Yeah.
pick one now, just to sort of lay the baseline.
For the aesthetics, American muscle car.
Okay.
But for the
All right.
reliability, it would be a Toyota.
Amen.
We'll do. Joe, do you want to do your new one now, or do you want to
I
save
don't
it for a
remember
future
what
episode?
it was. I know I sent it to you, but
All
I
right.
don't. So you can send it, but thank you for giving me credit for coming up with it. I appreciate that.
This is something, Cara, that has nothing to do with the movies. Do you prefer, and if you've neither had, they're not really around here, so if you've had neither, you have no
Oh.
preference, that's also fine. Do you prefer In-N-Out or Whataburger?
I've never eaten either.
I think a lot of people, Joe, are going to have that answer. I think because
man.
Yeah, just
In-N-Out is
regionally
predominantly
speaking.
West Coast,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Whataburger predominantly Texas. So I think it's a tough question to ask of most of our guests
That's
who
true
are
because we're pretty much
from
all
around
East
here.
Coasty, right? So
And that's all the questions for now. We're going to get to more every episode from here on out. But I think starting off as a Dom, a Letty, and a fan of American Muscle,
we'll
pretty-
see where
pretty
you go.
solid start.
We'll see where you go. How you evolve
See
from
where
there.
I go.
All right, Carol. Well, now the floor is essentially yours. I messaged you. Joe and I were talking to you and said, pardon the pun, but we're going to put you really in the driver's seat. There's no better way to learn in driving school than just to get behind the wheel. Joe and I have talked about each of these movies 4 times already. This is old hat
Yeah,
for us.
but I want to know just like the jump off though. Did you like it? This was your first
Yeah.
watch. How did it feel?
Yeah.
Like off the cuff,
I don't know.
generalization thoughts. Like how did you feel about it? You didn't like it. You didn't like this character. You like this part. Whatever you want.
Yeah, as Jordan put it, it's a real feast for the senses. Like there's
It gets better.
there's a lot, but I mean that actually in like a great way. I'll expand on that in a moment. I thought it was super fun. I was excited going into it because we've been building this up for a really long time.
True.
And I've like at a certain point was like not watching these on purpose because I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I got to do it all. And if I'm going to do it all, I might as well do it for a thing. So here we are.
Thank you.
So that was exciting. I was relieved that there didn't seem to be much of a plot because I just wasn't really in the headspace for like a plot heavy situation.
There never really is. No.
That's fantastic. Wonderful.
Well, so that's the thing that Joe and I often talk about when we talk about these movies. We talk about the action scenes, we talk about the characters, the sort of the little moments, and then we're like, well, how do they get from there? Like, what's the and like it doesn't
And
matter.
sometimes it's just like
it matters,
sometimes
but it
it's just
doesn't
like
matter.
bad guy. You know what I mean? It's like why are they bad? It's just like they're evil. Or like how did they get there? They're like had to. Like there's
Yeah,
not
who
really.
cares?
Yeah. You don't need strict answers for this.
Yeah, no, I like that. I'm open to it. It felt like there was something for everyone,
Yes.
unless you only watch movies for plot, in which case That must be so disappointing all of the time. But there's so much more to enjoy about movies, this movie in particular. I mean, the very like sweet spot of like Y2K technology time where it was like, yo, look at this shit we can do with computers now.
Yeah.
Before it got like really annoying.
We'll get there too.
Like,
Yeah.
the
In a big,
soundtrack
bad
was
way.
hilarious and wonderful.
The soundtrack's
And
great.
also, I mean, it helps that this movie came out like in a very formative time for people our age when our brains were really cooking in that 2001 juice.
Yes.
And I also wrote down that this is the most like pre 9/11 2001 thing I've ever seen. And I mean that in the most beautiful of ways.
It's free. It is very free. If that's what you meant by that,
Yeah.
it feels loose. Like
It's loose. It's like it's frivolous, I think is the thing that feels, and it's also like, here's this guy, he's an undercover cop with the LAPD and like is going after gangs. Like there's some dark history there if you know anything about policing in Los Angeles. So like the fact that like it wasn't super heavy around that sort of thing was kind of nice. Oh, that house that they're working out of, like the FBI, what are they doing there? Why are they there? I don't know. I don't care. Eddie Fisher apparently built it for Elizabeth Taylor.
Oh.
Amazing. What an incredible location. I don't know if that's true, but they say it in the movie. But I'm serious. It's like such a beautiful location. The movie is shot so beautifully, and
It
it's
is,
like
yeah.
this incredible love letter to the city of Los Angeles. I think they're like
Oh,
all
for
over
sure.
the place. The lighting is great, and I've been saving this for last. Although there's probably other things that I could talk that I enjoyed about this, but this is the big one: the fucking costumes. And this is probably the most tangibly 2001 thing is the way that people are dressed in this movie.
so many tank tops. So many mesh tank tops.
So many tank tops. So a lot of mesh, a lot of see-through. The thing that is just so eminently 2001 is the amount of pleather that is in this movie.
Oh yeah. So we are. I don't know if you know this. I guess there'd be no reason for you to know this unless you directly disobeyed me and listened to earlier episodes, which I don't think you
Which
did.
I did not do.
But Joe and I are going through essentially all of the movies. But we're starting with the first one, minute by
Yes.
minute. And so we're doing the Fast and Furious Minute, just like there's the Star Wars Minute podcast. We're doing 1 minute per episode. When we get to Letty I don't know if it's the first time we see her, or like the second time we see her, she is wearing, I think, like 3 belts. And
I took many pictures of the screen while I was watching this because I wanted to remember the exact costumes that people were wearing
she has
and describe them in detail for you.
low-hanging hip hugger pants that are like exposing most of her
Multiple
underwear,
necklaces.
3 belts on, multiple bracelets, multiple necklaces, glasses, like everything. Like it's
That's
just
what
like
they
they went to
call-
Delia's and got all of it.
That's what they call a layered look.
Oh.
And her look is a little more wet seal than Delia's, I would say.
Oh.
But I think those two stores might have been owned by the same company. But both very much like mall stores
Oh, yeah.
of the late 90s and 2000s. Let me see if I can pull up a...
Well, so as you pull that up, I have 2 questions for you that I want to sort of get a sense, and I think they could be 2 questions that we ask every time. I think there's one that I want to ask every time. Steal a page from our playbook. I want to know, Cara, what your favorite moment
Yes.
in this movie is, and I also want to know specifically from you what your favorite outfit is.
Oh my god. Well, that's an impossible question. My favorite moment from this movie is so unnecessary. I don't know when it happens. I don't know what else happens. I don't know. Michelle Rodriguez is, she's all dirty in a wife beater and looking like extremely hot, and she is holding up a can of oil, question mark. I have no idea what she's holding, but she is holding it in this way where her body is positioned in this like very purposeful way to like accentuate like
be
her
hot, yeah.
to be hot, yeah. And it's like no one would ever stand that way to do that, but I appreciated it because the other thing that's great about this movie and the costumes is that, and Joey, we talked about this on my season of Cinemakers, particularly when we did the episode about Clueless, because
Of course.
Amy Heckerling pays such loving detail to the costumes in her movies, shoots them very well, and worked with a cinematographer who understood clothes really well, is that like these outfits work in close up, they work in a wide shot,
Yeah.
like they're like so clothes are almost like their own character in the movie,
It's true.
you know.
Yeah, I mean, like we look at the clothes just for like the minute to like document the clothing. It plays a huge factor in this movie, more so than you like even notice if you're not looking at it through a lens like you specifically are. You know, like if you're like looking at the costumes, because it feels so natural to me that it's like so 2001 that I'm like, oh, they must have just been like wearing these. But like, no, there's somebody out there like picking them.
Making very specific choices.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Yeah.
And like, and I think it is a credit to the costume designer. I'm not even focused really on the costumes because it just feels so natural, and that's a hard thing
Yeah.
to pull off. So
Yeah, I mean, I was like a little distracted by the costumes a few times, but like in a great way. Like in the way that like this is supposed to be the focal point at this moment. One is when they're at that like big car meetup. What are those
Race
called?
wars?
That's the thing. No.
just like
Which is
a race.
hilarious yet problematic. Title.
Yes.
No, it wasn't the race wars. It was like one of the earlier like
Oh, they sound like a street race?
hanging out at night and everyone's there with their cars
Yeah.
situation.
Pre-race.
It's like a slow motion, like these people pull up, the door opens, and these women step out of the car, and the way that they're like their legs are shot, and it's just beautiful, and because it's just like, I mean, obviously it's like showing their bodies and showing these pretty ladies, but it's also like showing what they're wearing in like a really great way. You know, it's thigh high socks and like platform Mary Janes and like super duper mini skirts with like multiple belts, midriff, low rise, see through mini shirts with like a bra underneath. Amazing. Just all amazing.
Perfect.
The other moment like that is, I guess, at some point, an Asian motorcycle gang pulls up.
Johnny Tran.
And as the guys are getting off of their motorcycles, it's like a slow motion and the camera is like looking right at his ass. And you just see these like amazing faux snakeskin pleather
yeah.
pants, and then the other guy is wearing these red pleather pants,
Lance.
and it's just
It's
yeah.
Johnny Tran's cousin Lance. We know all about him.
Oh boy. Cara, I do want to give a shout out to Sonia Hayes, who is the woman who did the costume design when we had
And Gwen.
Gwen Watkins
Yeah.
on a couple episodes ago. She interviewed Sonia Hayes for Yahoo and spoke about that. But she has done all 10 of the Fast and Furious movies,
Perfect.
not Hobbs and Shaw.
Okay.
Which again has great costumes. Cara, there's something that Jordan picked out, a very, very minor detail in Hobbs
Ugly
and Shaw
purple?
that she really
Oh.
appreciated. Costume adjacent, but not exactly costume related. But here's also the some of the other credits that Sonia Hayes has worked on recently. We've got Captain Marvel.
Damn.
We've got Star Trek Beyond.
Okay.
We've got the remake of Total Recall. We've got Piranha 3D. We've got
A
the
classic.
Nicolas Cage movie Next with him and Jessica Biel.
Huh.
Close to my heart. Cheaper by the Dozen, Big Fat Liar, Along Came a Spider, Blade. All the way back to 1989, she's been doing costume
Blade
work.
is pretty
So
big too, man.
She's pretty serious. She did The Mummy,
Damn.
Star Trek Beyond, Independence Day, Stargate. Like she's always
She has like a
been
wide
on like
breadth
big
too,
movies.
right? Like that's like pretty
Yeah.
far stretched. Like
Yeah,
it's not just like
so
90s
many
movies.
stylistic
Yeah.
things.
heavy hitter.
Yeah. One thing that Jordan said when I brought up the costumes, she was like, I feel like it's all like a lot of ugly purple, and it made me laugh really hard. Because it's like this very specific color that was very in then. That's this like ugly, dark, but kind of dusty purple, and there's a lot of it. in
There
the
is a lot
movie.
of ugly purple in this movie. It's like Marie from Breaking Bad or something, right?
They're minerals, Marie. God damn it. So now, sort of related to fashion, definitely in that world, Cara, something that you have taught me, and I honestly don't know the answer to this question because I am looking for so many other things.
Are you
but
about to
on-
ask me about eyebrows?
I am exactly going to ask you about eyebrows. On Wistful Thinking, you and Jordan have trained me to pay attention because I feel like this is around the time where we had a real eyebrow crisis, right? Like this is where
Lack of
we
eyebrows,
plucked eyebrows
super thin.
This
within
was
an inch
the
of their
height
life.
of the eyebrow scare of the early 2000s. Yes, absolutely.
eyebrow
So
shortage.
how would you rate the eyebrows in this movie? Are they on point? Are they worrying? Are they almost gone? Like where do they fall?
I mean, for the style, they're on point. you know?
They match the setting. They're of the time.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. I just the other day watched Halloween H2O.
I love that movie so much.
I think it might be my favorite one
I
of
agree.
the
I
Halloweens.
very
That
much
is
Or at
agree.
least the ones that I've seen.
bonkers.
Michelle Williams, the tiniest eyebrows in film history. Um,
The Sad
sorry.
Queen.
One of the notes that I took that says kind of everything about everything, essentially all of what I just talked about, and particularly what we're talking about now. Just all one line, no punctuation. Eyebrows, fashion, music. Do the subwoofers make them go faster?
That should be the tagline on the case of the movie.
Because I feel like they imply that the subwoofers make them go faster.
It's
They,
not.
like turn
It's
up the
definitely
music
not.
and it's like, we're going faster now.
Yeah, I do think that they have that like thing in some cars have that like as you go faster the music gets louder though.
Interesting.
Yeah, like when you set your radio to like speed mode and like as you drive faster your music gets louder. I think
Yep.
they definitely have that.
You mentioned that you love the soundtrack in this movie. You love the score. Because there's the one thing I noticed this time around, much more so than previous viewings, and I think it's because of our work on the Fast and Furious Minute, is that I feel like this time around I noticed sort of the theme, like some of the things like the Brian's theme in the beginning when he's practicing driving.
Yes.
Like that sort of motif, that the sort of the sounds from that song pop up later in the movie. And there's a couple different songs that sort of repeat, or sort of there's like a reprise of some kind throughout the movie. I really like that about this. But Cara, this is again in terms of the songs, not necessarily the score, but the actual soundtrack of this movie. It's a very time capsule-y 2001.
Yeah.
But what did you think? Did you like that element of it?
I loved it. I mean, Limp Bizkit starts, there's like
I
a needle
know.
drop of a Limp Bizkit song, and I laughed so hard because it's like, yes, exactly, perfect. What else could you possibly put
This
here?
is like a Limp
Nothing.
Bizkit music video in its own way.
It truly is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've mentioned it on here, but I will say it again. When I was in Amsterdam and I took the tour of the Heineken brewery with my one-on-one tour guide, and when I fell in love with the Dutch girl that took me around, we got to this bar at the end because I took the VIP tour, and she's like, "Oh, we can put on music while we talk or whatever." I was like, "You just put on whatever you want," and I don't remember how it came up, but we started talking about Limp Bizkit's Nookie. And I was like, before you were born, because she is a baby, I was like, before you were born, around the time you were born, the biggest song in the world was the song Nookie. And it is such it's impossible, I think, to explain how that was the most popular. I mean, it's easy to explain how they're the
It's
most
like
popular
so
band in the
shitty
world.
pop,
But
hip hop.
also, the most bananas descriptor of the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, this was emblematic of so many things, and it makes perfect sense. It's also like, how was this ever our favorite thing?
No, but we all fucking loved it. That song played everywhere, all the time.
Man,
I had a
man, oh,
Red
man.
Yankees hat because of Fred Durst, man. It was like the coolest thing ever.
Speaking of the minute really quickly, in the last minute that we did, not this episode, but I think it was the relap recap,
Okay.
when we saw the cars leave for the race, right?
Yes, and the one
You said
veered
there's
off.
one goes way, I think that's Jesse.
I think so too. I think I said that. I think it looked like it was Jesse. It was like a foreshadowing of him like driving away at the end of Race Wars. And if we caught that, and if that was intentional at all, awesome. Probably not.
Because it's definitely a white car with a decal on the
Yeah.
side that sort of looks like his like
Jetta.
green sort of wavy,
It's
yeah, right?
Yeah, it does.
Guess he's getting a car wash, or maybe he's like, because they all sort of go in different directions. Maybe
I
he's
think
blocking another
that's
street.
what I think.
I don't know.
I think that he's an integral part of setting up the logistics of the race, and that he is taking like a shortcut to like get
Yeah.
to the finish line or like
Yep.
a cutoff point. And I think that that's ultimately what's going on there with this like wide left turn as everybody's going straight. But who knows?
And also, speaking of Race Wars, there is a guy that I don't know. I'm pretty sure that I've noticed before, but now I am very excited to get to him in the Fast and Furious Minute. In that scene where Jesse loses his car to Johnny Tran, there is a sort of an overweight Asian dude who's raving with a visor.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember
Oh,
him.
I remember him.
cannot wait to
Glow
talk
sticks.
all about him
Yeah.
in like 60 episodes.
We'll
Because
get
he
there.
is a hero in this movie. One thing that I noticed, and Cara, I want to sort of get your opinion on this, because I feel like my personality and also the personality of the character that I got in the quiz in terms of Mia, I feel like I am really the den mother. I want to sort of make sure that everyone's having a good time. Like, people sort of bring problems to me. I'm like, I gotta figure this out now. But what I noticed this time around is it feels like Dom is sort of in this movie, more so than in any other movie, maybe more so than all the other movies combined, feels like Dom is kind of like an overworked parent. Like it feels like
Yes.
everybody around him is making just terrible decisions, and he's like, "God damn it, guys! Like Jesse, like why would Jesse number one bet his car against Johnny
Pretend
Tran?
like he doesn't know
knows
who Johnny Tran is.
and then to drive away like out of fear? Like you're not gonna like God, like in that moment, I was just like, oh, he's been dealing with a lot of nonsense.
Yeah. That feeling when all your friends are idiots.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
I don't know if I ever really grasped that, but I feel like it's something, Cara, that does not really, I don't think, stay true for the rest of the series. But like, it's something that's very interesting about the type of character that they're
Fatherly.
building in this movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. What's the deal with the monologue that he has about his dead dad?
That's the reason why he has the muscle car and why he's in this in-between world. And it
Yeah.
also shows about his Cara family and how important family is to him, and also like gives him that fraternal like longing that he wants. That I think it explains the fatherliness that we were just talking about.
Like why he would put up with all that bullshit.
Yeah, because he's now like, the dad. He has to. It explains why he's taking care of Mia so much and why she's not like free. I think it's just
Well.
like to frame the family, to give him a background of like why family is so important, and also to point out that he's a criminal. He like always was a criminal.
Right, and also so that he can say the most important line in the movie. But
What's the most important line in the movie?
something about living a quarter mile at a time. I'm not sure exactly what.
Okay.
Because also I've heard Joey at least say it. I was like, oh, that's where this is from.
That leads perfectly into my next question that I had for you. As you watch this for the first time, do you have any memorable quotes from this movie now? And were there any quotes that you recognize and you're like, oh shit, that's why everybody says this?
Only that one.
Only I live a
that
quarter
one.
mile. I only live my life a quarter mile at a time. Not even like
I think so.
streets closed, pizza boy.
That common phrase that everyone says, "Streets closed, pizza boy."
We say it all the time.
Actually,
I wasn't done talking about Dom's dead
No,
dad.
please go ahead.
talk about
Continue.
Dom's dead dad,
Yeah.
please.
Actually, it's not really about his dead dad.
going.
Just that I found it interesting. It felt like a shortcut to bond the two of them, get them to like a closer emotional
Who?
place.
Paul and Dom? Paul Walker?
Yeah, in that scene. But like I don't understand why Dom all of a sudden gets super vulnerable with him. Like that seems to me to be out of character for him to like make this whole melodramatic speech, which is like acting class level at best.
Well,
it sounds real bad.
I think the easy answer is because they're falling in love.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's like
That
the beginning
actually
of the
makes
bromance.
a lot more sense.
I don't know if you know this, but this is a pretty straightforward remake of sorts of Point Break. And so the Keanu and Swayze characters are basically Paul Walker
I wish
and
I
Vin
had
Diesel.
known that.
And so
We
Would've
didn't say
enjoyed it
that?
even more.
We didn't tell you that? Oh, we play
I
that
don't
out.
think so.
I don't know. I sort of didn't want to because I didn't want to
Okay.
like sort of explain where it was going to go because I mean it's the
If you knew the plot,
the
yeah.
cop intruding on or
True.
entering into a crime ring and then in the end choosing the criminal over his job essentially and letting him go.
Yeah.
Like it's the same kind of story and just like how there's Lauren Petty in Point Break.
Mia.
There's Mia here, but it's not really like it's kind of a bromance. Like it's a very homoerotic love story between two men, two aggro tough men, in a world that is that they just fall in love, and I think that's why he shares all that because he's forming a bond, like even in spite of probably his own intuition and what Vince is saying, and all that.
Yeah, all of his other friends say
He
he's
loves
shitty.
he connects with Brian in a way. I don't know if he knows why, but it's he's falling in love.
Well, he's
Yeah, that
beautiful,
makes
so that's
a lot
why.
more sense. Two things about Point Break. One, Lori Petty is way cooler than Mia and way more important
True.
and way better. Like she just like is like a far more active character.
She's
in Point
she's a
Break.
nice mix of Mia and Letty, and I think she leans
Yeah.
a little bit more Letty in Point Break.
for
They
sure.
kind of just split that character into two pieces.
Which I would normally be thrilled. Oh look, instead of one woman, there's two. But I find both of them a little lacking at the moment. Maybe that will change over the course of the series. We'll find out. Second thing about Point Break, as disappointed as I am that I didn't know that going into this, I am also glad because I would have been disappointed. I feel like Point Break visually is such a visionary kind of work of art. Not that this isn't. I mean,
Yeah, you were just saying you loved it, so
but I would have maybe been a little bit disappointed if I was like expecting Point Break.
it's a nice homage. We get like lots of like nods to Point Break in it. So yeah, if you like one, you'll like the other. You might have a preference or something, but they're similar. I feel like Fast and Furious is definitely like a very aggressive nod towards Point Break at some points. Like you see some of the shots and you're like, "Yep, there you go." They definitely watched this one. Like they watched Point Break and they were like, "Yeah, let's do that again."
It's interesting also because Point Break, just like logistically, is such an insane movie because there's so much of the like surfing and like being in the water and actual skydiving, which is also mind-boggling. And in this, there's so much like technical stunt work that was probably also a nightmare to shoot.
Do you want to know a cool piece of trivia?
Absolutely, always, forever.
You know the restaurant that she works at in Point Break that Keanu goes to meet her at?
Uh-huh.
That's the same restaurant that Brian and Dom are in, eating shrimps.
No way. I mean, I definitely recognized it, and I was trying to place it, and it's probably been in like a bunch of movies.
Yeah.
I like that scene a lot, actually, between the two of them.
It's also in, I think, Iron Man 3. I think he has like the breakdown in front of it and then flies off to Tennessee or something. Like
Oh,
It's
yeah.
in a handful of movies, but yeah, but for sure, I mean, the two movies that are basically the same. And it's still there. Like that restaurant still exists, and we've had listeners go there and take pictures there and send them
Yeah.
in. So you can do that. Like that's part of the California
Tour.
Fast and Furious experience.
Yeah.
That reminds me, this movie made me hungry a bunch of times too. I thought that the food scenes were
Foodie
great,
films?
'cause
Kyle Reinfreed?
there's that Mexican restaurant that they go to, and like
cha-cha-cha.
immediately I was like, oh my God, I really want Mexican food now.
Popcorn.
When they're in that restaurant, he's like disgustingly eating shrimp, and it made me want to eat shrimp. Like another well crafted piece of it.
Well, Cara, just remember that if you take the first piece of barbecue, you have to say grace. I also do, like, I noticed this time that, like, Dom explains that in a way where, like, nobody's heard that before. Like, I know that he's explaining it to us. Brian's the only one who hasn't, but, like, Jesse, like, should know better. But he's like, Jesse, now you know. Or he doesn't even say you know. It's like, Jesse, since you were the first one to take the chicken, you have to say grace. This is a new rule that I'm coming up with right now, and I'm explaining it. But clearly, like, it's always been the case. I don't know why he says it the way he says it, other than, like, they just didn't realize it was going to become this important thing, right? But
Yes.
it's a weird line delivery to, like, for so synonymous with family and barbecues and Corona and all that, to be like, now here's a rule that I'm coming up with right now, and you need to abide by it. And here is the rule, and here's what happens, and I want you to say a prayer.
I always announce my house rules when somebody new shows up. If you see it, you can have it, and if you spill the drugs, you do them. Those are the two rules I have in my house.
Dangerous.
Yeah, those are the rules. So I get where I get that he kind of delivers it weird. It is like it's telling to Brian, so it's not like that weird because there is someone new there. If there was no one new at this table, I'd be like, what the fuck is he doing? Brian wasn't there. It's his first dinner with them, so he's like, Jesse, you took the first piece of chicken. Now you have to say grace.
Brian should have gone for chicken, and maybe he's the outsider
Yes.
and he doesn't want to make the first move, but, like,
Yes.
Jesse shouldn't be the one who does that, right? It should be the outsider, because Brian is the lens through which we're watching this movie. He's the lens through which we're learning about this family, this group, and their customs. He should be the one that reaches for chicken. He's like, Brian, you're new here, but blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
I don't know about that. Jesse seems like he might have some impulse control issues.
he does. He has ADD. He said it. He has that ADD.
Well, then there you go. That's exactly why he grabs the chicken.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Cara, on the flip side of the coin from the question I asked you before, do you have a least favorite moment?
Wait. You guys made me do a quiz when
Yes.
we did our pre-recording,
Yes,
and
yes.
I was somebody. Was I that guy
No, you were somebody from Tokyo Drift, which we're going to get to
who
later.
also dies?
No,
No?
I don't want to
Oh,
say
I
that,
thought
but
you
no,
said that they
he's
died.
only in
That's
one
why I
movie,
thought it
though.
was him. Interesting.
You can
Okay,
be in one
yeah.
movie and not die, and you can die and be in multiple movies.
There you go.
Mind blown. But Cara, on the flip side of the coin we were saying before, is there... Actually, hold on. Is Jesse one of the answers?
I don't remember. I think he has to be. It's like a low percentage one, but I think he's in there.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had a Jesse
No,
yet.
we haven't.
But Jesse, spoiler, is one of the quiz. All right, yeah, Jesse's like a less than a 4% chance, but it's not impossible, just unlikely. All right, Cara, I know that you... It seems like this is very... I'm sure no one is happier that you like this movie than you are, because you have to watch another 8 of these movies. But, I'm
true.
very happy that you enjoy this movie. Is there something about this movie that does not work for you? Do you have a least favorite moment, something that you're either hoping they build on or expand upon, or just something that, like, I don't get it. Like, even back in 2001, I just don't understand.
Well, I mean, it's not like a specific moment, it's an accumulation of moments, I would say.
Okay.
Okay.
This doesn't necessarily bode well for the rest of the franchise because I imagine that there will continue to be a lot of racing, but just too many pissing contests. I don't. Why are you're just always trying to prove to each
Dick
other that
measuring.
you're like
Lots of dick
more
measuring.
manly?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that you're not gay, and like you have a bigger dick than the other guy. Like, I do not care. Everyone would have so much more time to do more important things if we all stopped trying to prove to each other that we're not gay. It's
Or
just
Kara,
ridiculous.
what if we just make the movies an hour longer each?
No, please.
Well, Cara, I want you to really, really enjoy the first 4 movies. I mean, one we're putting later, but like they go from being an hour 45-ish to like 2:15 in a hurry. But like half the movies are short and half the movies are long. But to your point, and I think Joe is sort of reacting to this as you were saying this, racing kind of honestly goes away,
Oh,
but the
thank
dick
God.
measuring contests do not.
Ugh,
They just change people their dick measuring, but it's a lot of
Yeah.
dick
And the
measuring.
way that they're measuring.
Yeah.
And it's the who and the how.
I don't.
You
I'm not
it becomes
into that
endearing.
aspect.
It'll get there. It's like it
Yeah,
becomes more
okay,
playful.
whatever.
Like it doesn't. It's not like as blatant dick measuring as in the first
Yeah.
one. You know
It's just they all take it all so seriously.
that stays.
It's just like they're cars. Who cares?
I have a question. Should we finish with this one? I'm gonna say it, and Joey, you could decide if we should finish with this one or not. I want Kara to make a prediction of the next one. Should we save that till the end?
No, we could do that now, and then I think we could just do is talk about a few other things. I think we're sort of toward the end-ish. I think there's other stuff that I want to talk about, but because these movies both follow a linear and logical point from A to Z, and also at the same time absolutely do not. And
Helpful.
Should we tell her like
It's
where the
going
next
to
one's
be-
set? Should we just give her like the setting of the next one, or no?
no, so here's what I want to do. I'll sort of give like high level. So I want to say it's set in a different city.
Okay.
Some of the characters come back, some of the characters do not come back. I don't. This is going to be wildly difficult. Either what do you think happens in the next one, in Too Fast, Too Furious, or where do you see maybe Joe on a grand scale?
Okay.
In terms of the relationship of these characters, where do you think that these all sort of wind up?
I was just going specifically for the movie, so we could do it like every movie. Like, what do you think the next one is about?
Specifically for the next one, but also because this is the first one, we sort of have
Okay.
another 8 to go. Where do you think the characters, like, how do they grow individually? How do they grow with each other? How do their roles within the family shift or evolve? Or what do you ideally want to see? Like, now that you sort of know the characters a little bit, where do you hope that they go?
I don't know. I have
It's,
no
it's very
idea.
difficult. We've never asked anybody this question before.
Okay.
nobody's
well,
never not
let me
seen-
guess. The different setting, maybe Detroit.
Okay.
You know, I'm thinking, like, what are these iconic car cities where there are these, like, very rich car cultures and subcultures? That's all I got, Detroit,
Yeah,
which is probably wrong.
that's totally fine. Yeah. Do you think that like, is there any character evolution? Is there any relationships you want to see? Do you think anybody's going to get together, break up? Do you think that anybody is not going to make it to the end of them? Is somebody going to die? Is somebody not going to die?
I have a feeling that Paul Walker might die.
Well, he dies in
Real
real
life.
life.
Yeah, he definitely
I
does.
know.
In real life.
Yeah, well, that's all I got. I don't know. Like I said before, I would love to see Mia and Letty get together, but I know that's never going to happen.
Oh, yeah, we got the two girls kissing. That's about as close as we get in this first one, huh?
So there is, for as representative of this franchise, or as this franchise is in terms of how you look on screen, I think this is something that I wrote a lot of papers, at least 1 or 2 papers on in college about Lost, and about how Lost was this postmodern, like, no matter who you are, or what you looked like, how you felt, whatever, for the most
You could
part,
find a character.
you could find yourself in Lost.
Cool.
Like the cast is big enough and diverse enough. I think for the most part, and this is something that Joe and I have talked about
Mm-hmm.
a lot, the same is true here, with kind of the exception of like they don't. It's not like they don't do gay characters well. It's just that they're not represented. And so Joe and
It's
I sort
just
of have
that
our
they
own.
don't do gay characters.
There's at least one for sure,
Okay.
and there's one that Joe and I. It was a
Had
Mike Manzi
suspicions
theory.
about, yeah.
Resident historian, right along the Mikester. It was his theory that Joe and I have championed, and now our listeners are on board with too. That one of the movies is kind of refuted a little bit, but still possibility. But I would love to see Letty and Mia get together because I think that they're opposites. They're alike, but they're also their opposites. I like that, but it's just one thing. Like I don't want to sort of get your hopes up in that regard because it's kind of the one representational thing that this movie franchise hasn't really tried to do. It's not like
We
they've
get like
done
every
it and
other
done it
race.
poorly.
We get every other race. We get tons of
Yeah.
women.
How about disabled people?
Not quite. I mean,
Yeah. See? So there's another one.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so let's take let's backpedal. A lot of men and women, a lot of different races and ethnicities.
So there are women on the screen. Are there really a lot of women in these movies?
I think that there's substantial women characters as we
Yeah.
go.
Because to me, like what I saw in this movie was a lot of women on
Fair.
the screen,
Absolutely
but not
fair.
necessarily
Yeah.
being part of the action or speaking or doing anything important. Just a lot of standing around
Being
while
beautiful.
the men folks do things,
Yep.
looking pretty.
There's always going to be just because of the characters that they've built this world around, and it's essentially the franchise is until Paul Walker dies. It's a Brian Dom story essentially, right? Like it's their relationship for better or worse, and so I think building around two male characters, there's just going to be a lot of dudes. But I think as the movies go on, they do add women. It's always going to be more men than women, but I think that this is definitely one of the movies in which there are fewer women. Although the next movie, just brace yourself, not a lot of women doing stuff in the
At
next movie.
all.
There are women, but it gets better as it goes on. But the early ones, when they're kind of about cars more than action,
It's a lot of guys.
it's kind of dudes racing for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because I bet you, like, while those subcultures in real life are probably male dominated, there are still plenty of women
There are.
who are fighting to be there.
Like this, the fastest car show on Netflix. There's women that compete in that, and the Charlize Theron produced one on Netflix. There's a bunch of women that are competing in that. Like women have definitely joined the car culture if they weren't always a
They're
part of
always
it.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, like they're getting recognized for being part of the car culture better now.
Some of the women in this movie, though, were giving me like very like Grease vibes. I was thinking a lot about Grease while I was watching this
I've never thought. Yeah.
because there is, you know, some car culture and drag racing in that movie.
There is. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, and Letty would definitely fit in with the pink. I think they would all fit in with the pink ladies, kind
Oh
of.
yeah, Letty is a total Rizzo.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
Mia, a Sandy Frenchie hybrid, I
Yeah,
think.
Sandy adjacent, not full Sandy.
Right.
She's almost more of a Michelle Pfeiffer from Grease too, but not even
Okay.
quite. That's a tall order. That's more. I was going to spoil something. A character you get is going to be more Michelle Pfeiffer in Grease too, but I don't even want to say what
Don't
that
even
actor
say
is.
it. Yeah.
But you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
The unnamed character for a while.
Yeah.
One thing that I noticed in this movie that I really liked is when Brian brings the car to Dom's garage. He's like, "This is your 10-second car." He's like, I asked for a 10-second car, not a 10-minute car."
Yes.
And Dom says, "Jesse, pop the hood," and he just lifts the hood from left to right and it just falls off.
Yes.
Like I just think that's the funniest way to pop a hood. Just is like this car is literally falling apart. Let me just pop the hood by like yanking it off of its literally off the body, because that's just the only way that I can really get in there.
When I was watching it this time, and I had been watching like all the car videos, when he pulled up the Supra, they would know that it has a 2JZ engine in it. Like if he's like pop the hood, it's the engine that it came with. So they act surprised that it has the engine that it came with in it. And I'm like, but that's the engine that it came with. So, like, you know what I mean? They'd be like going to your...
What, you don't replace your engine, bro?
I mean, you could have, but he's like, pop the hood, and they're like, why wouldn't they be like, oh, has it got a 2JZ in it? You know what I mean? Like, but then they see it, and they're like, oh shit, a 2JZ engine. And it's like, well, that's the engine that was in the car. So it's like, this isn't surprising. Like, if you pulled the car up, then you would know that this is the engine. And if they know so much about cars and engines, they would definitely know that. So, like, as soon as they pulled on the thing, they'd be like, you got a 2JZ in there? Like, that would be like the first thing, like, real car people would say. And it was like the first time I was ever like taken aback by that.
Yeah, you would think in a movie like this it'd be a 2 Ja Rule engine at least.
Oh, yeah, extra Nas.
No Jay-Z in there.
In that first scene where he shows up at that car park thing,
Yes.
he asks a girl if she's been doing yoga.
I know.
And it just was like another one of the like extremely 2001 things where like yoga was just
Yeah,
starting
you're looking
to...
good. You doing yoga? Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Made me
we
laugh really
just got
hard.
to that line in like a minute or two ago in the Fast and Furious minute. Like that's where we are. So we
Yeah,
Oh,
we were just
okay.
talking
we are
about
firmly
that. Yeah.
yes. A couple of things that I noticed really quickly. Number one, when Dom and Brian escape from the race, they escape from the cops.
Yes.
And they get pulled over, flagged down, whatever, by Johnny Tran.
Yes.
It really feels like, again, this is sort of in a way kind of tied to the overprotective mother that Dom is kind of playing in this movie, but Dom feels less sure of himself and like kind of less than. Like, it feels like he's afraid of Johnny Train, and we know
He
you know, he
is.
says, I think at the end of that scene that like I dated his sister, but like he feels weaker in that scene than I think in any other movie at any other point.
I agree. He does show a little bit of his vulnerability in that moment, because normally he's not scared. He's like a rock, but like when Johnny Tran pulls up, he's like, oh shit, the like almost like the boss is here, right? Like he like has that reaction, like fuck, like we have to do exactly what he says. And I don't know if it's just because like at this point Johnny Tran has guns and the family really doesn't have guns. You know what I mean? Like they don't seem like a gun kind of crew yet.
Does this happen before or after his dead dad speech?
Way before. The dead dad speech is like near the very end.
Yeah, this is like 20 minutes into the movie.
No, because it's just, I think that he has kind of a few interesting moments of vulnerability in the movie, that being one of them, and then the dead dad speech too. And I am curious just like how that will, like where that lives in this lifespan of his character, I guess. I don't know.
Cara, you are my lifespan. So that's a fan fiction that Joe and I are reading one chapter
Erotic
per
fan
lap
fiction.
forever. It is something special to behold.
Got really steamy.
Another thing. Let's see here. Oh, when they get to the party, when Brian, when he says, you know, why do you bring him here? I never noticed before, but like Letty's just lying on the floor playing PS2.
Yes.
Like she's playing a racing game.
She's playing
I
Gran
just love that.
Turismo.
Like it's just like, you know, just hanging out, just playing video games.
Did you notice what she was wearing at the party?
The flame boots.
Actually, I don't know if I noticed what was on her feet, but she's wearing like a leather mini skirt with multiple layered belts. Again, low slung, and then a not quite a belly shirt, but also not quite a full shirt that is like lace, see-through, black bra underneath with the dog tags. What's the story with the dog tags? I forgot to ask.
Well, there's a
Those seem
necklace.
important.
The necklace that Dom wears in this, the big gaudy cross, is kind of an important thing. The dog tags are just like kind of just in this movie, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not like somebody
No.
Not a
else.
through line, no.
No.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Does she have? Was she in the military? Like, was her character in the military?
Other characters
Why is
are.
she
The other
wearing
characters
them
we don't
then?
know yet have been or were.
Yeah.
But
Not
no,
Letty.
not her. And as far as we know, no.
They're just criminals.
I mean, they were definitely like people were wearing them at that time.
It was fashion.
You know,
it was
but-
fashion at that time.
It was fashion. I just feel like it's a very specific choice for a character. Like, I need to know why she has them on. Maybe they had like a specific backstory for it and we just never learned it.
Yeah, like her
but
brother.
we would if these movies paid more attention to the women.
Very true. I have a thought that I was watching it this time. Throughout, you know, all these episodes, we've established that Brian is probably the shittiest cop on the planet, right? Like, he is by far the worst cop ever.
Yeah, he's real bad at
He's
it.
really bad at it. Because we have been reading You Are My Lifespan, and because Johnny Tran is such an important character in You Are My Lifespan, but we've always said, in this film, in this franchise, we can't really count anyone dead unless we see the body. In this case, we do see Johnny Tran dead, and Brian runs up to check his pulse to confirm
Yep.
that he is officially dead. Is there a possibility that Brian is as shitty at medical attention as he is at being a cop, and that Johnny Tran was alive, and he just didn't know how to check a pulse?
Or
Absolutely.
is it possible
Yes.
that this is all an incredibly long con and that he let Johnny Tran get away? I don't know to what end, but he's like, "Oh yeah, he's dead." Wink, wink.
Or, like, what if Johnny Tran was playing dead and he could control his pulse even after being shot?
All plausible things, but also sometimes your body goes into shock and your blood pressure drops, and then
Maybe.
you can't really feel it you can't feel a pulse very strongly. I mean, they used to bury people alive like all the time.
So there's a chance that actually Johnny Tran was alive and that You Are My Lifespan is a real story, is all I was...
Oh, unrelated, but you just
ahead.
triggered a memory in me.
Go ahead.
The newest Nicolas Cage movie, Running with the Devil, which was our 100th episode of Cage Club Prime that Mike and I just
Congratulations.
recorded a week or two ago. Thank you so much. Cage's partner in that movie, who has no lines, maybe isn't even named, is Carter Verone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Cara, the villain, I mean, this is not a spoiler because there's no reason you would ever have watched this weird VOD, straight to VOD Nicolas Cage movie that just came out. But the villain in the next movie is Nicolas Cage's partner in his like 92nd movie or something like that. So yeah, it's a weird because Mike's like, isn't that Carter Verone? I was like, is it? Oh shit, it is.
That's
So Mike
awesome.
always on the lookout. So
He
yeah,
is.
he's still acting. And again, because I was also thinking like, could he come back? Because he is,
Yeah.
sort of his fate is up in the air a little bit too. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Very
the
interesting.
only other thing that I made a note of that I want to mention is there's just a very quick line that when they're in that beautiful house that Cara you were talking about before,
Yes.
Bilkins says, "We don't got time," and I was like, he truly is the anti-Dom. Like Dom, they've got nothing but time. And Bilkins says, "We don't got time," and I was just like, whew, wow,
Yeah.
wow, wow, wow.
I don't think that anybody connected those things in the scripts, but I do like that you connected them.
Of course.
I don't think
I mean,
writing.
this is what
I don't think
happens.
that was intentional writing. That
No, probably not.
The 2 movies later that he says I got nothing but time, and to juxtapose him to a cop in the first one.
You never know.
You never know, though.
Never know.
Well, we haven't interviewed the screenwriter yet, so
Cara, any other thoughts about this first movie? Anything else that you loved, you surprisingly loved, or you
Wanna
were
talk
sort of bothered
about-
by, or any questions that you have?
I only have one other note
Sure.
that is not extensively excerpted article about pleather from the LA Times, like an article in the LA Times in 2000 that I'm not actually going to read to you, but that's also here in my notes. I just needed you to know that. The only other note that I had was, ooh, pretty colors car explosion.
yes.
No!
There's a car that explodes and
Yeah.
it turns all pretty colors. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
All right, Cara. Or Joe, do you have any other thoughts about the Fast and the Furious, or
No, I
should we
went
play a
through-
couple games?
I'm glad Cara seemed to like it. Like, actually, to be honest, your reaction was much better than I expected.
Oh, good. It was better than I expected too.
I think that there is. I mean, not all these movies are great. I think that there are some in here that are just like that are sort of decidedly worse than the rest. But I think that this first one, especially, is a better movie than people think it's going to be.
Yes.
Like we
Yeah.
had last lap, we had somebody watch this movie. He'd never seen any of them, and Michael Domenico, he watched the first one. He's like, actually, that was pretty good. Like he's not going to watch more of them. He's not as committed to the cause as you are. He kind of surprisingly liked it too, and I think that there's a story here that works, and even though it could be better, even though
It has problems. It's very 2001. There's lots of glaring problems with it, but
I think the story beats, the character dynamics work, and I think it tells a good story. I don't know that anybody would have thought that this would have been, a multi-billion-dollar franchise still going 20 years later, but I don't think it's wildly crazy to think that this was the start of something big, because they nail so much of the things that, are kind of important.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, there's something for everyone there, and there's just like, I imagine that this will probably be true of all the movies. The way that I approach movie watching anyway is that like there's always something that you can appreciate.
Yes.
Even if those like basic elements that are supposed to make up a movie aren't necessarily there. It's like, there's other stuff going on that I can appreciate. So,
true. Yeah.
All right, Carol, we've got 2 games to play. First up, we're going to play a game called This Ain't No 10-Second Race, a.k.a. Boy, Do We Have a Podcast for You. So what this is going to be is, Cara, I want you to go on Twitter, and I want you to find any tweet from anyone.
Any tweet.
And the goal of this, what we're going to do is you're going to send the tweet to us, and I'm going to respond from @TooFast2Forever on Twitter, and I'm just going to say, boy, do we have a podcast for you, link to the show page, say hashtag Fast and Furious, hashtag 2F2F, and the goal of this is to get new listeners. So if they like, if they retweet, if they reply, if they email in, you get points. So we're going to play this game 9 times with you. Mike Manzi, I think, still has a higher score than I do, even though I've played this game probably close to 50 times now, and Mike's played it like 10 times. It's very difficult. Feel no pressure. We don't know what works. We don't know what doesn't work, other than apparently everything we tried doesn't work.
Yes.
But so take your time. Go on Twitter. Find any tweet from anybody who's talking about either, maybe an actor in the movie, the movie itself, whatever you think would inspire someone to want to listen to this podcast. Send it to us, and we're going to reply.
I just realized something really crazy as I was searching for this. We never connected. Dom's sister's name's Mia, and the guy pining over her is named Vince, and Vince and Mia are the characters from Pulp Fiction.
Oh.
I never noticed it until I was searching Vince and Mia, and I got a Pulp Fiction tweet, and I was like, holy shit. Like, because I was reading it, it was like, oh, when Vince meets Mia, and I was like, oh, how sweet. And it was like, no.
And I can't believe that Paul Walker's character name is Marcellus Wallace. I don't know how we didn't realize. Okay, I got this one. So here's who I'm going to send this to. It is from @VeekThor19, VeekThor on Twitter. Hashtag, instead of vaping, watch Hobbs and Shaw over and over again. Boy,
Do we have a podcast?
do we have a podcast for you. Actually, we need to. While you look at these, I need to. I have not done the. I have not reviewed our last ones. It's been a couple episodes since we did this.
Yeah, please.
So first off, last episode that we did this was on Hobbs and Shaw. Mm-hmm. I found at Hamo_D Demo Gordon on Twitter took the Charlize Theron tweet. She's back. Fast 9 Cypher, and it says Cypher versus Hattie Shaw, please. Boy, do we have a podcast for you. It got a like. Oh shit. That's a like from the actual person. Demo Gordon liked it. That's a point for me. I didn't see that notification come through. I didn't think I got a point.
Yeah.
That's very exciting.
Strange. Yeah.
So I am now up to 9 points. I have tied Mike Manzi for second place.
Okay.
Joe, you still have 15. So let's check out your tweets.
Okay.
You found at Lolo1433, Loic Atikosi on Twitter. That's crazy. None of y'all want to come watch Hobbs and Shaw with your boy, LMFAO. Boy, do we have a podcast for you? Nothing, unfortunately. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Mike Manzi found at Alasdair Stewart. Alasdair Stewart is back on this bullshit. Yes, I did buy the Hobbs and Shaw soundtrack. Yes, the Idris Elba plot rep is absolutely worth every cent. Boy, do we have a podcast for you? Nothing, unfortunately. So.
Okay. I got mine now. Mine is from at Unflavored Chip. They're just sea koala emoji on Twitter.
Unflavored with a U in there, in case you're looking for the account.
Oh, yes, true. And the tweet is, really like Jesse in the Fast and the Furious movie. Frowny face, R.I.P. Boy, do we have a podcast for you.
All right, Cara, seriously, no pressure here whatsoever. Just find... It doesn't even have to be about the movie. If you want to just find anybody know any good podcasts...
Yeah, it's anything. You're just trying to get likes.
It's from a woman named Kylie, at Kylie, with 3 Ys, 674.
Yes.
Okay.
Does anyone know of any good podcasts?
Oh, this is great. Cara, this is so good.
I know. I want to start listening to them driving to school in the morning.
Oh, boy, do we have a podcast for you. Even though Natalie at Nat_421 said, ooh, girl, I got you. I'll DM you some. I'm going to, so Cara, I'm going to give you the choice. Do you want me to respond to Kylie, or do you want me to respond to Kylie and Natalie? And so see if Natalie gets the notification too.
Sure, why not?
Boy, do we have a podcast for both of you. Cool.
That's perfect. That was a good one, actually.
That's a very good one. I mean, that is, it's the template that we laid out, but it's catered specifically to this lap.
Yeah.
All right, last game that we're going to play is Dude, What's My Car? Cara, do you want to try to guess with Joe, or do you want to try to help me give hints?
Let me try and guess.
All right. So this car is from Wes.
Okay.
He says, I got a car pick for you. This one also ties back to Emily's bio dad. Hopefully Joe can get it without too much trouble.
Hopefully.
Who's Emily? What's the deal with her bio dad?
Wes is a longtime listener. He writes in all the time. His wife was adopted, and she's trying. She went on a search for her biological father. She found him and found some cars that he had. There's a bunch of cool backstory to that. Emily's his wife. Sorry, I left that part out. Yeah.
I think you said that.
Okay. His co-host, as he likes to call her.
This is a crazy story, so I can't really read it because I will read it when we're done. But I think that I can't read really any detail of the story without, if you know what it's referencing, giving the car away.
Yeah.
It is an American car.
Okay.
It was produced in the 60s and 70s, then it took off for a while, and it came back a little bit in the 90s.
Okay.
And this is the 3rd generation of the car.
Okay.
I think most commonly it is, I guess they're all black cars. There's one picture where the glare kind of makes it look like maybe a really dark, sort of chocolate brown.
Ooh.
But it's most commonly and most famously known as a black car.
Oh.
It's a 2-door car.
Okay.
It's got a very long body. I mean, I guess, knowing that it's from predominantly from the 60s and 70s, it shouldn't come as too much of a surprise that it's a very long car. The front headlights have 2 headlights in either side, circular, round headlights, encased in a rectangular headlight box.
I know exactly what it is.
What is it?
I can't remember the name, but I can see it in my brain.
Okay.
A Thunderbird? No.
I was going to say a Firebird.
It starts
Pontiac?
with a T.
Is it a Pontiac?
No, it is not.
Okay.
Oh, it's all
Trans Am?
bubbly and weird looking.
Yeah.
No. I know the make, I know for sure. The make is one of the more famous American cars. The model is not one that I maybe know, but it's not one that I would have thought to guess.
Okay, keep going.
Grill comes out to a little bit of a point in the front. There are 4 straight, thin silver bars that go across. There are underneath, I guess the fog lights are sort of centrally located. There are 3 mini little grills below the main grill. There's the yellow-orange fog lights on either side of that underneath. In the back, there are long, thin, rectangular brake lights. 2 red brake lights on either side of a white light. The trunk is gigantic. It is a very deep trunk, in case you want to hide some bodies, I guess.
Okay.
Famously from a particular movie in which, when you think about the movie and you think about the characters that drive this car, it's not the first thing you think of, but it's probably either the second or the third thing. And I know that's sort of a vague clue that maybe doesn't help, but you'll know what I mean when I say it.
Is it a Ford?
No.
Is it a Chevrolet?
No.
Is it
It's very close to Dom's heart.
a Dodge?
It's a Dodge.
Not so it wouldn't be like a Challenger or a Charger, right?
Nope, because I know those. Correct.
Okay. Dodge Dart?
Nope. Famously, the people who would drive this car tend to drive around in suits and ties, sunglasses,
So
put
it's
on
like an
hats.
FBI car. Oh, is it the car from Blues Brothers?
It is the car from Blues Brothers, but
When
what
I Googled that,
what kind of car is
and
it?
It was a Ford. Oh, I'm sorry. A Dodge Monaco.
Yes.
Oh.
So Emily's
That's what I was
biological
thinking.
father for a long time has toured the country and played various events as one half of the Blues Brothers, which is
Musically?
bananas.
That's really cool.
This is also a guy, Cara, who cosplayed as Jack Nicholson as the Joker.
Won an
in
award or a prize.
What is like staggering recreation of the character. Like it is
He looks
bananas.
just like him, yeah.
West writes that he meets with Dan Aykroyd a couple times a year to renew the rights and everything.
That's
Part
really
of the
cool.
act is they have to have one of the Bluesmobiles used in the first movie that they bring to some events with them. He hasn't done the act as much in recent years, but he still has the car. I've included a picture of him, Elwood on the left, and his car.
Let me see.
So here's the first picture. Yes, here's the picture of them. So her dad is on the left side, and then also here is
Shit.
the other car pictures that we are guessing from.
Dodge Monaco.
I watched this documentary about James Cameron's like undersea exploration of the Titanic.
Yes, I've seen it.
And he had these like 2 robots, like remote robots that like went through and
They were
like,
yellow.
had cameras on there. Yeah, and they were named Elrod and whatever the other guy was named.
That's very cool.
This is
I like that a
Yeah.
lot.
One of them got stuck, and then the other one had to go save it.
Aw.
it's very cute.
It was. I mean, the man can make a movie.
He can.
Well, Cara, thank you so much for joining us on the kickoff to the driving school app. We are pulling up on your house here on the right. If you want to pull over and let yourself out, Joe and I will drive back to the DMV.
Can you just make sure you wait until I get in the door, okay?
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, I know it's a little dark outside. I want to make sure you get
Yeah.
inside safely.
Okay.
But yeah, so thank you for joining us on the kickoff, the
That was
inception
awesome. Yeah.
of the driving school app. Next movie, so Cara, you have to do the little homework is the turbocharged prelude, which is a 6-minute short film that you can find on YouTube, and then Too Fast, Too Furious, which is it set in Detroit? We'll find out in 2 weeks.
yeah, we will.
But I also want to, I think we said this on the relap recap, but next week, Cara, you are not here, but Joe and I are doing a pit stop. We are going to go through the Fast and Furious Wikia page for Brian O'Connor, because in our off weeks, this is going to be the Brian O'Connor lap. So we're doing the driving school lap while you're here, Cara, and when you're not here, we are doing the Brian O'Connor Paul Walker lap. And so we are going to deep dive into his wiki page and find out everything that we could possibly ever want to hope to learn about Paul Walker, about Brian O'Connor. So come back next week for a pit stop bonus episode, the Brian O'Connor deep dive. We have a name for the show, and I don't remember what it's called. You will know next week when I name it when I say it aloud. I don't remember it right now. But Cara, thank you for joining us, and I hope
That was awesome.
this
Thank
was
you.
fun enough that you want to do this 8 more times.
Yeah, absolutely. What an exciting day.
Cool. Well, for all things Too Fast, Too Forever, you can go to cageclub.me, facebook.com/TooFast2Forever, at TooFast2Forever on Twitter and Instagram. Email us, family@cageclub.me. Come back next week for our Brian O'Connor deep dive, and come back in 2 weeks for Too Fast, Too Furious. I'm Joey Lewandowski,
I'm Joe too.
I'm Cara Gael O'Regan.
and we'll see you next week for a Brian O'Connor deep dive right here on Too Fast, Too Forever.